Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Timberland Regional School Board, Thursday, January 3rd, 2019. Our agenda says 18. I don't want to go back to January of 18. We'll continue on as if it's 2019. Call to order. Oh, I just thought,
That one.
Roll call, please.
Brian Boyle.
Here.
Lee Doobie.
Here.
Kim Farah.
Here.
Sheila Lowe's.
Here.
Sarah Mockamer.
Here.
Sean O'Neill.
Here.
Kristen Savage. Sue Sherman.
It's going to be late.
Okay. Sue Sherman.
I'm here.
Jennifer Silva.
Yes, here.
Also seated at the board table this evening are the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Roxanne Wilson, and Student Representative, Nick Valhooley. The presence of other district administrators as well as teachers, Timberland Teachers Association officers will be reflected in the meeting minutes.
Can we all stand and for the pledge, please? Nick, would you like to lead us tonight?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Happy New Year to the board and to our audience. We are getting right into approval of minutes in your packet. Switch my eyes. So we have the special board meeting of December 17th, 2018 to approve. Take a second look at those if you haven't already, and I'll await a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 17th as presented. I guess hopefully some members on the board have a better memory than I do on that breakdown of that paragraph.
Okay, let me get the motion. Hang on, let me, motion by Mr. Boyle. Could I have a second, and then we can discuss?
I'll second it.
Mr. O'Neill seconds. Go ahead, Mr. Boyle. Which paragraph are you referring to?
I'm referring to that paragraph where it talks about the, goes into reductions and then talks about transportation.
Second page?
Yes, well, it starts on the
Yep,
first
bottom of
page,
it, yep.
bottom, and then it goes in the second page, and it's, so you've got a half dozen members there that, my memory doesn't serve me correct, that if that is all, how accurate that is, I guess. I agree with the bottom line, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, that bottom line number is correct,
I
right?
agree with the bottom line number, I'm just, the detail, I guess, is what I'm questioning, to see if
I think there was a lot of
memories of the other board.
discussion. Yeah, there was discussion around all of those. I don't think those were necessarily written on a tablet.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'd have to go back and open up my files and look at all those line items.
Was this filmed, Mrs. Belcher? Yes, it was, right? 'Cause you
Was it what?
Filmed.
It was filmed, and I wrote down the numbers as you spoke them.
Yeah, I'm pretty,
So-
Total's right.
yeah, I mean, I know we went back and forth and you wrote them down, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's
I-
why the discussion, I think there was a lot of us discussing numbers. How would you like to leave it? Do you want Kathy to go back and look at the film yet again and confirm those numbers and put these?
I'm going to approve it personally, because I mean, the key one is the bottom line number.
The motion is the key.
Yes.
Right,
Motion is
right.
okay. Go ahead, Mrs.
I do have a
Dr.
couple I do have a couple things I want to add. Under the default budget section, on the second paragraph, it says, discussion ensued on the salaries detail lines, the data used to populate those lines, and on the salary detail report itself. I would like it noted in the minutes that the board still has not received the salary detail line that was requested.
Okay, let's add that in. Dr. Farrar is adding in, the board has not received.
But is that of this date, or, because these are December 17th?
They had.
Yes,
not
well,
been.
we still haven't
you-
received
It's
it,
just
so
about-
certainly
I mean,
we
that's-
haven't received it as of
Yeah,
that date.
That was the
Of that
salaries
date, we
detail
still did- we
report
didn't have
reference
them in.
itself.
On
That's
the,
what that-
on the December 17th, you want it added to the minutes, December 17th?
Yes, it was
Yes,
mentioned.
yes, it was mentioned.
No, I do remember.
So another thing that was mentioned at that meeting in regards to the numerous positions that
Hang
were,
on, Kim, we're okay about adding that in.
I am.
One at a time, yes, okay,
Yes.
go ahead, sorry, Kim.
next, well, the third line in, it says it was noted that numerous 16 positions were currently posted, which was consistent with the superintendent's pronouncement to the board back in April of 2018. No, that is not correct, that he was going to post 16 positions back in 2018. There was a move to eliminate up to 15 positions in April, with the addition of one back in.
Right, so that, if you don't mind, the 16 wasn't specific to the number of positions back in April, but the reference was about the positions being posted, is that he had noticed the board back in April that I'll work with less people, but he said that when it came time to determining as to whether or not he needed those positions, he would make that determination. And the board at that time was in agreement that that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's what that is referenced. If you, that's not how the intention of that statement is. I mean, it's not meant just to articulate or pigeonhole to a certain number of positions back in April.
See your hand,
That's
Jen.
not what that is in reference to. And if you would like it clarified in a different way, that's fine, but that's not what the statement is referring to.
Well, what I think is key to add in here, and I don't remember who said it, I think it may have been Sheila, was that there were at least X number of positions that were posted on December 13th.
Yeah, but I don't think that was in reference to that. I think it was like two separate statements.
It might have been
being
two, but that's a statement I want included in these minutes.
made. Sheila, want that added? I like to follow that if
Mention
it's,
something like that.
you made the statement and
That's right.
you want it added in, or you want it taken it out, but I don't want us to speak for anybody else who might want to add or subtract.
I agree with Kim. I think it should
So
be
Sheila-
noted that those positions popped up, were added, thrown in as open
want it
positions
thrown in?
as
I want
of
the word
Advertised,
thrown in.
advertised as
4 days
Look
prior to
like-
this meeting.
4 days prior to this meeting, which was December 13th.
So how would you like the words to be written? Because it'll be you saying it. Mrs. Lowe's,
I think it should just say were, get out currently, were posted on December 13th.
Right.
so, but she's adding it to the minutes, so.
But I don't know how many
Kathy?
positions that was. How many was it? Do you remember?
They were advertising for open positions.
Well,
I may
I,
have it
I, I somewhat remember, because I think I started that conversation when I asked if
Oh,
we
yeah.
were short teachers at the middle school.
That's right. Because it was an advertisement.
Because there were a couple of positions advertised. One was, I mean, I don't really know how much detail I want to go into, but it was a position that I thought we had somebody in, which is why I was asking about it.
I'd like to find out what Mrs. Lowe's would like added to the minutes, so Kathy can get it in.
I'm looking to see if I have the information written down, Sue.
Can we come back to you then, Sheila, if anyone has anything else? Jen, you had your hand up, was there something you wanted
Well,
to
yeah, I
add?
was just going to interject that about, I do remember that conversation and how it started, because it was the question that I asked about a few positions at the middle school that were posted.
Yep.
One of them specifically that I'm pretty sure that I don't think it's empty, but.
Well, could you say something that in response to your question about positions being posted, it was noted that blah, 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 the rest of this, then at least it attributes to you if you were the one that brought that up.
Okay.
Sue,
Yes.
You could say that
excuse me?
you noted that there was middle school positions posted and queried the superintendent as to whether or not those were open.
Can we just don't even approve the minutes, and we'll just deal with this at the next meeting? Just if there's some verbiage you want to go, you know what I'm saying? There seems to be some, which we've never had. We've never had factual stuff
I
like
think,
this.
well, and in my mind, this verbiage is important to include in the
This is all the
minutes.
more reason.
Fine. So
What I'm
that's-
saying is.
Okay, stop,
Kim,
everybody. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, so that's part of it, is that you all believe that what you say at the board meetings warrants being put into the minutes. So my job is not to pick and choose who says what and what is deemed important. The purpose of the minutes is to provide a summary account of the discussion, not going into the detail. If somebody wishes for the detail, they can certainly pull up the Vimeo, they can timestamp it, and they can use that as a recollection of it. But the purpose of the minutes are just to provide a simple summary. And honestly, and Mrs. Sherman has even advised me on this in the past, is that I'm putting too much into the minutes as it is. They should just say, discussion ensued, motion. Discussion ensued, motion.
And the results of it.
And that is that. And legal counsel has indicated the same thing. So I want to please the board by providing a set of minutes that is, acceptable to all, but the a la carte about who says what is important overrides somebody else's. We all come from different perspectives. I'm trying to play the basic conversation, try to include as much, and I try to include not statements, but subject areas of what everybody has had something to say, and I try to do it in a way that doesn't call people's names out, etc. So that's all I have to offer as it relates to the transcribing of the minutes. I'm certainly, I work for the board. I'll take the direction of the chair on that.
Go ahead, Jen, and then I'm going to make a decision here.
Well, I appreciate that, and I would agree that sometimes the minutes have far more information than what's even needed. I think the concern, what I'm hearing from everybody, is that the bulk of that paragraph reflects what the superintendent said and not what the concerns of the board were.
Bingo.
Right.
So I think that, okay.
Okay,
and-
thank you for that interjection, but
Right.
really not necessary.
So I think that the responses were, those statements are in response to the query of the board.
Yeah, so
Right.
I think what Dr. Wilson had suggested, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it
In
sounded
response-
nice.
In response to, Jen Silva's
I'm gonna
question
take
about-
Mr. Boyle's suggestion. I'd like to table these, remove your second and your first, and let us work a little bit harder on these, if that's what you'd like. And it's a lot of work. She's got to go back to the Vimeo, thank goodness we have it, and look it through again if you want more detail. But what Kathy is suggesting is what I've said. It's been suggested by New Hampshire School Boards Association and our own legal firm that we don't need to have, and then Mrs. Sherman took a candy. You don't need to have that kind of detail. You need to record, you had a discussion, maybe a few highlights, the motion, who did it, and the results. So I'm going to ask Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Boyle to remove their firsts and seconds.
I'll remove my first. Second minute.
Sure.
Let's put these, let's take another stab at these, Kathy.
I'm not exactly sure what the directive is. What do you want me to do? You want me to sit down and watch the Vimeo and put in what each person
What-
says? I'm not exactly sure what it is you're
Yes.
asking.
Yes. Go back and put more detail in.
More detail?
Mhm.
Okay.
Question over this.
Yes, Kim? You want detail or you don't want detail? I can't do both.
No, I appreciate what you're saying to the board and the nuances in the minutes and what needs to be included. I beg to differ. I don't think we want to go back to the Vimeo and write everything that everybody said.
That's a transcription.
As a
We did that one time.
transcription.
It was 20 pages.
I was just concerned on some,
Key issues.
on just some key issues and so that's, and I didn't really, I think maybe a couple sentences might be all that needs to,
I'd be happy if you wanted to give me
I'd be
those key
happy
sentences.
to give you a couple of
Give me a
sentences.
key sentence,
That way-
Sheila, give me a key sentence, and I'd be happy to move those along. We'll see if we can insert
don't
them.
wanna-
Jen, if you have a key sentence you want, put it in. Mrs. Markham, do you have a key sentence?
I was not there, so I have nothing to say.
I'm going to move on to the other set then. We have a regular board meeting of December 20th at 7 o'clock. This is our open meeting. This is not a special meeting. This is a meeting we got finished at 10:24, so that would be my goal tonight.
A lot of motions.
Yes, there was a lot of work we did that night. So we're already at 7:15, so
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Mr. O'Neill's makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Lowe's makes a second. Additions, corrections, discussion. If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed? 0. Abstaining? 1. Thank you. And now we have the non-public meeting of the 20th of December.
Yeah, those. I didn't see those. Oh, there they are.
You all
I didn't
set?
even see them, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes.
Dr. Farah makes the motion. A second.
I'll second.
Mr. Boyle makes a second.
That's fine.
If there are no questions, et cetera, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? You're going to vote, Mr.?
Yeah, you weren't here.
I was here for that.
I don't think so.
No, it was the same meeting.
This is the 20th of December. 7.
Oh my goodness.
7.
Then we need to adjust them then.
Why?
Yeah, sorry, no,
But
they're
he's in there?
incorrect, because it says he's here, and
He's here, yeah.
Oh.
You were polled, too.
I know.
No, it says you
Yeah.
were.
Yes.
Confusing that with the,
Doesn't list you as present.
on-
I know, but it lists him as being
Doesn't list him
polled.
as present. It lists him as voting yes.
Yes.
It's a cut and
I'm
paste.
Let's-
abstaining.
Oh,
I'll
remove
withdraw my
those.
motion and make,
Make that
I'll correct
correction,
it,
yes.
yeah. As corrected.
As corrected.
Thank
You're
you.
good.
That's why I was confusing.
You're
with
good.
that.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, you weren't here for that.
No waiting. So, 7, right? 7 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. Is that correct? Okay, student representative. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, how are you? Alrighty, so, next start by quickly saying, everyone, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. And I'm sure kids are all sad it's over, and parents, you couldn't be happier. At Atkinson Academy, the school started their Let's Get Movin' before school program today, where kids are introduced to games and activities catered towards physical activity and exercise, and just promotes general wellness. So a huge thank you to the Atkinson Wellness Committee for making this event possible, and the students participating are looking forward to tons of more fun. At Danville Elementary, the second grade students have begun rehearsing and preparing for their play performance in the spring. The play combines theatrical performance under the topic of science, so it's an unexpected but awesome mix that will be sure to impress their audience. At Danville, there will also be 2 enrichment days scheduled for the whole school to participate in. On February 22nd, there will be an Around the World themed day where adult volunteers can join the students and present trips from that they've experienced, or I know there's an endangered species topic, just anything relating to the topic of around the world. The school is also on May 31st, there will be a career day where adults can come in and speak about their jobs to students. The school is obviously looking for parent volunteers, so you can let the principal know if you'd like to volunteer. The deadline for Around the World is January 7th, and the Career Day deadline for signups is April 12th. At Pollard School, the Thursday, Friday before vacation, they had their annual Grandparents/Special Persons Day, which I mentioned last meeting. I'm very excited to report there were over 600 grandparents/special people who came. So, obviously, thank you to the PTA at Pollard for such a great time for the students, and the kids had a ton of fun, so that's always great to see.
And the grandparents too.
And the grandparents, right, of course. Sandown North is excited to present their band, chorus, and orchestra at the PAC on January 15th at 7 p.m. And from what I heard, the honors musicians from all the schools did a fantastic job at their concerts earlier. And I look forward to seeing the concerts. So, and everyone should try to make it. On January 9th, the middle school will be having their annual Geography Bee, where our kids compete to see who knows the most about geography around the world. So good luck to all those contestants. And on January 12th, at the high school, the Student Council will be hosting a fun festival for ages 2 to 12. Admissions is free. It's going to be at the high school cafeteria on the 12th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It does cost money to buy tickets to compete in festival games, but there's going to be bounce houses, activities for the kids. So it's looking to be a really good time. And also next Friday will be the next Milkmen show, which is always amazing. And that's the money raised is going to go towards scholarships for kids at the high school. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Always good.
Happy New
Thank you
Year.
so much. All right, we are at delegates and individuals. We have, I think, one tonight, Kathy, unless you have one.
I have no. I have
Okay, so Mr. Sapia?
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought I would come in here tonight publicly and thank members of the board on this weighted voting issue. You have made it crystal clear to me that it is probably one of the fairest things you could do. So, as Brian called it, he called it the ultimate in fairness. Dr. Farah suggested that why would we allow a town or a district or whatever to have X amount of say when they only contribute Y. So in kind, I'm going to be submitting a warrant article tomorrow of the following, and I just want to come in here and thank you guys for your leadership and due diligence in this matter. Shall the residents of the Timberlane Regional School District direct the 4 towns of the district to change the Articles of Agreement to correlate with the level of board representation based on the financial input of each town, level of percentage of students enrolled, as well as considering historical input data of the same for each town making their contributions. Further, to direct the Timberlane Regional School Board either to adopt full-time weighted voting for the Timberlane Regional School Board by town or to reduce representation on the board. This is to be consistent with the newly adopted weighted voting recently by the Timberlane Regional School Board for fairness and equitable representation allowed by RSAs at the SAU board. This, of course, is advisory only. I have another document here, but because it's a new year, Sheila, you, Mrs. Lowe's, whichever you prefer, we kind of on a first-name basis, you asked me what I did as an SAU member. I'm going to submit this as part of the correspondence instead of reading it here. It's what I feel is we did do and what we didn't do. The sniping on social media, I believe, I'm not going there anymore. It's got to stop.
I agree.
I think the level of respect is,
We're just listening.
yeah, I think the
Fine.
level of respect for residents and board members alike should kind of come to an end. So that's, I see no measure in moving forward. But this is for your eyes, if you prefer me to give it to you, or I can give it to Sue, whichever you prefer.
You can give it to Sue.
Okay. But anyways, thank you for your time. Good luck in 2019 in the budgetary process. I know that's always contentious, but I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Jeff.
He's going to give it to me now. He's going to submit it.
Okay.
I don't need to.
All right, we have 2 current business. First up
Thank you.
is the update on the strategic plan.
I'll start there. I would invite the 3 facilitated chairs to come up and just sit at the table in case there are questions. And just for the board's perspective, some of the background, as you know, we worked very hard on the strategic plan. The board very graciously approved it the end of September, so we've really had October and November, and a few weeks in December to start our work. And one of the things we did is just try to organize, and that's the first thing we did in terms of organizing committees and to look at what our action plans were. And if you look in your packet, the full action plans are there, but we pulled out the first year action items and tried to focus on those. And as you know, when we were working on these last year, anytime you work on something with a projection of a year out, you have to also look at what needs to be adjusted. And so as the committees kind of got together, they're going to make some of those determinations in terms of if any of those timelines need to be adjusted. But just for purposes of clarification, we do have 3 working committees, subcommittees, and each one of these folks here will talk a little bit about the process that they've used. But we meet together, which is a way for us to keep this somewhat common and the process common. So I think we're making a good start. Each one of the committees have met at least once. Some have met twice. And they're really focused on the action items. And so through the discussions, we're very fortunate that there's a board member in each one of these committees representing you as well, to make sure that if there are things that need to come to your attention, we'll get it on as an agenda. So as we kind of go through the process, strategic planning for the academics, and Christy Michaud is helping us with making sure that that's kind of on point. We've arranged that a little differently because we're using the CNA group, the Curriculum and Assessment Group, to be the ones to monitor what needs to get done. So much of this work is around the curriculum and the programs and the assessments, and a lot of those folks who are in those committees or in that committee are responsible for a lot of the work that we do. So instead of having to have a whole separate committee, we infused it into your monthly meetings, which also keeps it fresh. And we talked a lot about that because each one of the schools represented, there's also departments represented on that committee. We have 2 board members who are on that committee. And really the work is around a lot of what the deans do, a lot of what Christy and Sandy do, and I think that's one reason why that committee is being run through the Curriculum and Assessment Group. So if there are any questions that you have with Christy, she has quite a few action items that she's working on, and mostly, again, kind of pulling things together, focused on some of the personalized opportunities for kids, because that was one of the goals, is the personalized learning opportunities. They also had a goal of creating more STEAM opportunities for collaboration, problem solving, and creativity. Their other goal or objective is to work on the competency-based education program, which they're actually doing a lot of work around some of the assessment maps, and Christy can speak more about that. And then one of the last objectives is to develop this systematic program of job-embedded ongoing training, talking about what do teachers need. Always continuous support, which is what we try to do from a systems perspective. And that has to do a lot with professional development. So I know that you've met on, I think, at least 2 occasions monitoring some of the work that's being done. Christy, and if there's anything else you want to add?
Some evidence of our progress towards the activities that were marked for the 18-19 school year to our CNA on November 3rd we met, as well as on December 4th, and we actually meet again next week on January 8th, and we have a few additional updates to share with the CNA committee in terms of our evidence and our progress toward the objectives within the strategic plan as it relates to academics and rigor and 21st century learning. Great work.
So I think through CNA, we can bring back to you, to the full board, you know, if there's a big aha moment that hops up, we'll bring it back. Sarah sits on that committee. Because we meet monthly, we're more on top of those kind of monitoring stuff, so.
A lot of great work that is already underway.
We also have set up a Google site where we share documents, notes, committee representation, and who's ever on the committee at that point in time, because it may change and shift over the course of the next 3 years. But it's a way for us to share work and to kind of keep current at the same time. I'm going to move on to school climate with Mrs. Rassico. And I know that, I think you've met twice as well, once in November and, did you meet in December? Yes, okay. And one of the things that they're, just to bring you back to some of their goals, they're creating a 5-year action plan that includes interventions and supports that are associated with core values. And I think one of the things that you're first starting to look at is to create this group coming together to create the core values. What are core values here for Timberlane? And so that's one of the very first things that they're doing, is to really identify what those are. The other objective is to create this district-wide response system that will offer interventions and supports. And some of this work is really looking at what strategies and interventions we use, doing an inventory of those. We've had a lot of work with the system of care, and I've been involved in some of that. And that system of care is really looking at how do we intervene when we need to in a systematic way, so that kids don't fall between the cracks. And we've brought together all of the counselors and psychologists, some related service personnel, and we've looked at our systems, our processes. How do we do RTI, or response to intervention? How do we work with kids who are in crisis? What are our partnerships out there in the community? Who can we rely on with expertise that perhaps goes beyond what we can do? And I think from the conversations that Mrs. Rassico was having, that's part of your communication, is how do we strengthen some of our partnerships out there? And I will tell you that more and more we are seeing the need for critical expertise in children with mental health issues. And more we go out for extra resources, and we're hearing CLM, the Center for Life Management, can't provide the personnel. They just can't. They don't have the personnel, and the need is so great. Everywhere, we've heard some hospitals are now, they have a center where they work with some of these children, and they're full. Their beds are full. You can't get an emergency placement. So we're really seeing kind of the need out there in terms of what we can do, but also what are some of the partnerships that we have to kind of broaden and go out besides just the same ones that we've always been using. Susan, do you want to add anything?
Sure. So just to add, in terms of Goal 4, we actually have the stakeholder group in place, a few new members. We're actively looking for student participation, and our next meeting will be really revolved around the way to get the most accurate information from students regarding climate and culture. We have a list of core values. It's a matter of prioritizing them, and we want student input on that as well. Once we have that groundwork done, we really will then start with the 5-year action plan. And also live to give credit to Dan Woodworth, who is also facilitating a good part of the system of care. So they're working concurrently on all of these objectives. Right now at the building level, we have Samantha Broadhead working with our teams to look at those systems of care, and we're hopeful that we will have something more solid come March in terms of the 5-year plan, our core values, as they relate to the Timberlane mission and vision.
And I believe Kristen sits on as a school board member, sits on your committee?
Kristen Savage is a member, an active member.
Susan, is there any way we can help getting a student? I mean, we have a school board rep as a student.
Nick, I would love your help.
I don't know if Barry in the guidance office is doing some of that, but getting a student rep.
We actually are looking
can pump
at a
up the jam
process
a little bit.
or a system in terms of having principals take a look at some of the appropriate questions, not to guide to the right answer, but more importantly to reflect on some of the reoccurring themes that we have. So I think we probably will be reaching out to Nick, but we're also going to be reaching out to the building level principals so that we have a system in place so that we're getting not a standardized, but a consistent outlay of exactly what the climate and culture is from student perspective.
Nick, I'm not trying to shove that
Oh,
down your
no,
throat,
no,
but if
I'll-
that's something that
Yep.
kind of,
I'll help with whatever I
please
can.
be in touch,
Great.
and, I know the guidance office is working on it too in each of the schools, but when you said student, the first thing I thought of is maybe Nick could offer some
Yes.
aid.
And the third area is facilities. And Tom Geary is here as the facilitator and chair of that committee. I know you have met, I think it was October, and you're meeting shortly. And you're still looking for some members, so you could use this opportunity to kind of advertise if you would like. And I know that, you know, as you were looking at some of your activities, a lot of it is around kind of coming together as a group and looking at all the existing documents and resources that you have now, doing kind of an inventory of what you need, which is part of the process going forward in order to create your long-term facilities plan. And I believe, Brian, you're on that committee? Is there another board member, or is it just you?
I don't think so. It's
Okay,
just me.
all right. And if you want to add any other,
Sure. Yeah, we'd also like to book Nick.
Ah.
on that committee. Or any student representation, right? No, it's an exciting group, right? So there isn't one person on that committee that isn't passionate about improving the facilities. I guarantee if we were able to break ground, everybody would grab a shovel on that committee. We have a lot of existing documents from previous needs assessments. I'm combing through all of those, and I'm trying to parse down the hundreds and hundreds of pages into kind of a 2 or 3 pager to make it easier to digest for the committee, so we can focus our work. So I hope to be bringing back some information to the committee in the last 2 weeks of January. We put out a poll to figure out whose schedule meshes with the others, because it's a very diverse group. It's not just school personnel, it's community members, budget committee members, school board, school facility staff, teachers.
Is there any representation or department that you're looking for that?
Sure, yeah, I'm looking for somebody from the special education field to contribute any ideas they have from anything that we're lacking in our current facilities. And I know Mr. Rascode is helping me recruit. And we'll also be looking at for an elementary school representative once we parse through all of the studies from the middle school, high school. Anybody wants to volunteer?
An elementary school parent, staff member, nurse? What are you looking
Probably a
for?
staff member,
Staff member.
administrator, or a teacher would be fine.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Yes, Kim, and then Sheila.
I've been doing some thinking about this strategic plan and the bond and the budget as we move forward. The current bond is done after this next budget cycle, which means that we should be looking to go out for a bond next March. If we're gonna go for a bond next March, I've been trying to backward plan this in my mind, then we're gonna need to have something to essentially sell to the voters by next fall, really, to get people on board with this. You did all receive what the bond payments would be based on what I proposed to the bond bank, which was $40 million. I think what we really need to do is we need to sit down, and Dr. Wilson's great at this, is backward plan this from next March to now to figure out what we're gonna do, because I think you have to have this up and running, figure this out for the fall, but in order to do that, what you've then got to do is figure out how much do we think that the voters would support on a bond. Frankly, I don't think my town is going to vote for a bond that's $80 to $90 million. That would be adding probably $6 million to our current budget, or a budget. So I think we'll be looking somewhere of the order of maybe, and Brian, you probably looked at the numbers, I'd say about 30 million. So
High
for,
side.
huh?
I think on the high side.
That's, well, okay, so let's say 20 million. So I think the first thing we need to do, and I won't go on too long here, so we need to come up with a number that we think the voters are going to support. Then we need to have, which I've not seen today, Mr. Boyle, is the major facilities that we need to have renovated. I think that starts with the HVAC systems and then works from the exterior into the inside and figure out what we're going to be able to do with $20 million to our buildings. And I think that's how we need to plan this backward. I'm just throwing this out to any thoughts on that? But that's my thought.
I would hope that this needs assessment that you're trying to pull together would show that. It would either support its HVAC, or it's a roof, or it's roofing, or that it gives us a that design backwards planning. Tom, did you want to interject before I move on to
Sure,
another
yeah, at our
board
meeting
member?
on October 30th, I did distribute to the members the timeline that the New Hampshire DOE put out in 2006 for the planning of school construction. So we're a little behind on that, or a lot behind on that schedule. So I just wanted to make you aware that we can do everything we can to push that up, but there are some things that do take time to
I'm
plan.
sensing from this board that if you could continue to fast-track this along, I know you have other things you need to do in a day, but that's one of, we're supporting the strategic plan, so we're supporting getting this moving.
Yep.
Because timing will be really important to get this in the right place at the right time if we have a chance of getting this on the ballot and getting it approved. Sheila, you were next, and I'll come back to you, Kim, if you don't mind.
Dr. Wilson, do we have a current, anywhere in the database, anywhere, of who are on these committees? Like,
On
this
these
has
new
got to be
teams?
obviously, this is old.
That's the writing, that was the
Right,
writing.
this is old list. But is there anywhere that,
Yes, we do. We're still trying to find more.
no, I understand that,
Yes,
but a basic
yes,
list, is
We
it?
can give you that. We can
Yeah,
get
can
you
we
that.
get that out?
That would be
to,
great, because, you know, if I have a question, or,
Yeah, we have
The
that.
current-
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The current team. So these are the team, what I call the team leaders.
Correct.
So any of our questions should go to the team leaders or come to me, and I'll get them
Well,
to the team leaders. They should come to
They
me.
go to you.
They would go to Sil.
Yeah.
No,
And I'll
I'm
get them
not
to the
gonna-
team leaders.
But I would just like, you know,
Yeah.
see who's on these committees and.
Yep.
We can get that. I think some of the, we're still building some of the
Right.
teams. But could I also comment on Dr. Farah's comment? There's different ways to approach this. And by approaching it through money first is one way to do it. But I think a lot of times when you're looking at facilities, it's really important to look at what programs needed. So you look at what your programs are, what's lacking, what do you need to put in your facilities, and that drives the work, not the money aspect of it. And that is what I think a lot of what facilities planning is about, is program planning as well. So, you know, I think there has to be a balance there somewhere in terms of what is it that this board is willing to support in terms of programs and facilities, and that drives the money aspect. So,
Go ahead, Kim, then Sean.
So I agree with you to a certain extent, and in a perfect world, that's how
Well,
it would be. But as you know, we're not going to, if we don't put the right amount towards the voters, we're not going to get.
but here's my question. If the why is important enough, and the why for building is about your programs and what you need, what your goals are in your mission and your vision, that's the why. If it's important enough and you talk to your communities, you will sell it. And that's the second piece that I wanted to introduce to you, was that thought exchange, which I'm hoping you at least had a chance to read. But that's what I'm saying, is that it's not just about what will they live with. It's what's their, passion behind education for each town, and what do they want for their children? So,
I don't disagree, but you've also got to take into consideration, and this is more a philosophical discussion now at this point, I think, is the demographics of the current population in those 4 towns, and who's voting and who's not. And think about that in relation to what you think you're going to be able to ask for and get those voters to support. Because we've had a demographic
Yeah.
shift here.
and that's part and parcel of the facilities process. I have no doubt that at some point it is, what can we live with in terms of money? But I think we also have to do our due diligence on the program side and the facilities needs. So I think we're agreeing.
I think
But-
we are, but and I'd agree, generally speaking, more so with programs, if I didn't know, at least from what, I'm hearing from Mr. Boyle, is that we have structural needs that are gonna have to be addressed first.
Yes.
Structure.
Yes, we
So
do.
I
Yes,
just
we
don't
do.
even know if we're gonna get to the program
But
aspects.
I don't have an idea in my head right now what that facility answer is. I don't know, maybe some of you do, but until I understand what our needs are, because it's been a while since we've done this needs assessment, I can't say this is exactly what we need until at least your committee is, has looked at it. so.
Sean, I'm gonna let you go because you were next, but I'm gonna say that I'm gonna try to hold it to our time plan
sorry.
here.
All right.
No, no, no.
I won't
And
say.
a couple of more minutes. This was just informational. This is, to keep you updated. They'll be back again, I hope, particularly facilities, since that seems to be, a hotter topic to all of us, so, to some of us. And so, go ahead, Sean, and then I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment in regards to the structures that we have. I mean, we know that we need HVAC systems in these and
Roofs.
various roofs that we're going to need in the buildings. I says that would take front and center in my opinion. I mean, I understand your points that you're making in regards to the programs, but every program is going to need a building, and the building has to be sound. And to also comment on what Dr. Farrow was mentioning about the whole financial aspect of it, is that our wants and needs as a society are endless. We have a limited resource, and I've said this many times, and it's our taxpayer dollars. I says we have to think of this soundly, because it's good to have a little bit of something than a lot of nothing. And that's what, if we go too big, they're going to say no, and it's going to be keep on saying no.
I agree, absolutely, soundly, everybody looking at it, so yeah.
We thank you for coming in. Can we think about, you guys having some more meetings, and, as soon as possible, particularly the facility side of this, come back in and let us know where you are with your 100-page documents. And
I need
Thank
to, I need to add this.
yes, I'm gonna let you go ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate the work you've done so far. I do want to add, as far as strategic planning, something that did come to our attention, and we did do some research on it, and I sent you some information in your packets on something called Thought Exchange. I don't know if any of you have heard about this. I had not heard about it. I know Dr. Metzler had actually talked to some of these, the authors of this software system at one of the conferences he was at, and brought it to our attention. And I know through technology, Ken Henderson, Cliff Dancy, Dr. Dancy from Hampstead, and I did speak with these folks because I was impressed with what this software could do. And I know we keep coming back to, how do we get the community's feedback? How do we get their input? We've had parent forums, we've had community forums through strategic planning, we've advertised, and we still get 40 people. And those 40 people have really great opinions and feedback, and it's wonderful, but we're still missing representation from a lot of people. This is an opportunity, and I'm not pushing this. I'm just saying to the board, this is your choice, but I saw it as a resource. And there are some very big school systems that are using this, and there are higher ed colleges that are using this as well. And it can be used in a variety of ways. But I saw this connected especially to the strategic planning and possibly some of the facilities, in order to get opinions of what's important to the community. And as you see, you kind of like, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but you kind of use this software and you kind of throw it out there, and they have a platform that allows people to send their responses in or questions, and they rate it, whether or not this is something they agree with or they have a problem with, but it's all done anonymously, so you don't know who the person is who's making the comment, who sometimes are great influencers. And what happens is you kind of see what the general agreements are as you put whatever your topic is. And the topic could be around, culture and climate. The comments or the topics could be around facilities. What are our facilities needs? I mean, you generate the topics. And so I wanted you at least to see that there are some opportunities out there for us to use. And if you wanted to have more information on it, we could have someone probably come and do more research. We can have someone come and present to you. So,
Just, are there any other programs similar to this that are doing something similar as a
point of comparison.
Other businesses, you mean, that do this?
Not that I've become aware of, but I haven't really researched that piece. I saw what this could do, and some of the references and I guess, the case studies that they have associated with it. I think they're much more out in the West Coast with some of the bigger districts where they can't have small community forums.
Yeah, sorry, Kim, then Lee.
I have done a little research on this, and I know there are other companies out there. K-12 Insight is an example that's in the Northeast that other districts use. I haven't done enough research to know what the cost comparisons are or the differences in the platforms, but going through here, it looks to be similar to what this
Right,
company offers. So
What K Insight does.
K-12 Insight.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think if we're going to go with something like this, that we'd want to look at other options and just have somebody speak to reps. At this point, I'm not for it at all because as far as I'm concerned, we don't have enough, especially in terms of facilities, to go out at all to ask questions on. So I'm maybe later down the road, maybe 6 months if we really start to ramp up. But I don't see pursuing anything like this now until we have a better idea of where we're going.
Yeah, I wanted them to bring it to you so that you could at least say, gee, there's some help out there when we're kind of, I didn't think we were quite ready yet either, but when we're, particularly with the facilities thing. Maybe this, or have a presentation from the company that Kim and I had researched that too, and hear what they might offer us in that facilities section. I don't know. I'm willing to take whatever help we can get that has the expertise to gather that public input. Lee?
It seems more like a survey tool to me, like a survey monkey. So I'd like to know, what the differences are where, some of these tools are already free today and we can kind of customize them.
This is much stronger because it has analytics behind it
Okay.
that help build consensus to what the common idea is. So if,
So it bubbles your themes to the top.
yes, it does, and you kind of see where people are agreeing in a much easier fashion than what you might see just through a simple survey. And they also have, they have people who've done this. They have used this to help sell bonds and market. And, some of the things that we haven't had that experience, but there are tools like this out there now. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention because, it's 21st century here. And if we really want to try and capture the essence of what our communities feel, this might be a way to do it. And it's an annual subscription, and you can run as many thought exchanges as you want. So but some of these have back-end analytics that they will help you with if it happens to be a much bigger.
Are we interested in hearing a presentation by, not right this second?
It doesn't have to be the second, but
April, spring, never?
Well, to be honest, I think K-12 Insights, at least from what I researched, will do more for us than this company.
Are we interested in having a comparison done?
Yes.
Are we interested
Yes.
in nothing?
No, a comparison.
Comparison. So I'm hearing consensus on comparison, at least up here, comparison, being open-minded, and hearing what they might have to offer, and see if it's something we want to jump on, not tomorrow, but
do our research.
do our research.
That's
Back
fine.
to the research desk, you go.
I can do that.
Got to move on, if we can.
Yes, thank you.
Assessment report.
That's next.
Christie and who else is there?
Sandy.
So one of the.
I'm sorry, Mark.
So, one of the charges of the Curriculum and Assessment Subcommittee is to bring you this data every so often, so we're making our every so often report.
Yes, so thank you for the opportunity this evening to talk with you about our AP program. the Advanced Placement Program at the high school, as well as the 2018 exam data, and some of the highlights of the great work happening with our AP students and teachers. As we were just talking about with the strategic plan, ensuring a high-quality program and high-quality instruction is important to all of us, and something that we focus on each and every day in our schools and throughout our district. As you know, we have several AP courses at the high school, and we also have a very talented and dedicated team of AP teachers as well. Each year, our deans, as well as our teachers, they evaluate their courses. Let me move to the next slide here. Sorry about that. They evaluate their courses to make revisions and to make improvements as needed. They're making those changes to syllabi of AP courses as it relates to curriculum requirements posed by the College Board and course requirements that are also sometimes changed by College Board and reflected in the syllabi of our courses here at the high school. Our teachers are constantly evaluating to ensure that quality instruction and to ensure that those course expectations are rigorous and that we're meeting the needs of our AP students in a similar way that we do in all of our classes. In terms of training and professional development, many of our teachers in the AP program take advantage of courses over the course of the school year, and many of our AP teachers have also taken professional development courses over the summer as well to improve their instruction and to better meet the needs of the learners in their classroom. Each year, students who participate in an AP course, they also take the associated AP exam. That exam is administered through College Board, right here at the high school. We're looking for students. Students are seeking scores of 3 or higher, and those exams we have learned are predictive of how students will succeed and how successful they'll be after graduation and at the college level. The next few slides, Mr. Pedersen is going to share some of the 2018 exam results, but also to share with you some of our trend data of how our students how they have achieved over the last couple of years. So just moving on to the next slide. Mr. Pedersen, go for it.
So this is just some data for the past 5 years, looking at the percentage of total students' scores of 3 or better. Last year it was at 75% of our students scoring a 3 or better, and that's typical of what colleges will accept for either college credit or kids moving on to the next college class, whether it be for credit or just at least to just move on. And then the next data point, 71% of our students, which are the total students with scores of better in New Hampshire. So we were 4% above New Hampshire average. And then the next one there is total percent of AP students with a score of 3% or better at global, which was 61. So we were 14% above the global average. So we are doing, I feel, doing a very good job at the high school. Much kudos to the AP teachers who are doing this work. And as Christy pointed out, all of our students at Timberlane are taking that exam. Whereas if you look at the 2 other columns there, New Hampshire, if we compare ourselves to New Hampshire, we compare ourselves to the global averages, those are the hand-selected students that choose to take the exam. So not all kids who take an AP course are taking the exam in New Hampshire and at the global level, whereas at Timberlane, all of our students are taking it, and we're still beating those averages. So again, looking at this data over the past number of years, the global average has stayed pretty much equal. If you look on this slide, it's the gray bars and the gray dotted line going across. The global average is pretty much consistent year to year, around 61-something%. The other set of bars is the darker maroon bars, which are the state average, and that has been going down over the past number of years. And then the Timberlane bars are that orangey red, and they have been going up. So Timberlane has been going up. Global average has been staying the same. New Hampshire average has been coming down. And again, I wanted to point out that New Hampshire and the global average is the selected students that take the exam, whereas Timberlane is all students are taking the exam, and we're still going up. So again, much kudos to the AP teachers who are doing that work.
And to the hard work of the students
Yes.
as well, right?
So just more metrics, more data here for you. Looking at those 5-year trends, the first column is the total number of AP students. The next column is the total number of AP exams. So many of our students are taking multiple exams. The 266 in the year 2018 is the highest number we've ever had. So again, more of our kids are taking more exams. And then the next column, 75% of our students getting 3 or better. That next column is the percent of eligible school population. We say that's just the number of kids who are eligible to be taking AP exams or AP courses. So that's mainly sophomores through seniors. So freshmen, there's no AP courses available to freshmen. So it's 19% of the eligible school population. And then finally, that last column is the number of AP exams of a 3 or better. Again, that's correlate to, colleges either accepting it for college credit or colleges allowing students to sort of move on to that next level course. And again, the past 2 years have been phenomenal in comparison to the last, 3 prior to that. You just look at those numbers, and it's great work by the students and the teachers. We have the breakdowns of, looking at the humanities courses versus the STEM courses. More students are taking humanities AP exams than STEM, but it's not that far disparate. And the percentages are roughly the same at the qualifying scores, humanities versus STEM. It's fairly consistent. So with the scores aside, we look at, well, what are we doing to continuously improve this? The Timberlane admin teachers and school counselors will continue to review and analyze AP scores as we do every single year. The AP board or the college board releases those instructional planning reports that we then share with those teachers. The teachers look at. They look at, maybe some specific areas that they need to have some further attention to, or as they sort of plan that next year, they look at, all right, well, what do I need to maybe do a little different? We encourage teachers to participate in ongoing training and professional development. We do that continuous work year after year, as Christy pointed out, where we're looking at the syllabi for alignment. We're looking at making sure that teachers are having everything that they need. Ensuring that the courses that we're teaching are aligned to what the college board is, the expectations of the college board. We're using AP release items or the college board release items in terms of the grading rubrics, example questions, practice tests, things like that. So we ensure that our teachers are using everything available to them. We have been continuing to work with the school counseling department to increase student participation in AP course selection and make sure that those students who do select those courses are successful in those areas. Again, as I pointed out with the data, we're at one of the highest numbers that we've seen ever in Timberlane. So much kudos to the school counseling department to ensure that those kids are accessing those opportunities. This year, we've really ramped up our AP Professional Learning Community, or PLC, or SIM committee. We have a number of teachers who have taken the lead to ensure that what they're doing in their classroom is the best that they can do, and to share some of the good practices that they're doing. So we've actually had a couple of our AP teachers sort of take the lead in meeting with other AP teachers and sharing those best practices. They've reviewed and analyzed their results with each other. They've reviewed them with the deans. We look at what could they be doing different, and they've been coming up with great ideas. They recently came up with a couple of documents that they've been working on to share with both the school counselors and teachers in classes sort of below, if you will, the AP classes, to ensure that those kids are getting what they need prior to going into that class, and that everything is sort of funneling up, if you will, to ensure that those kids are the most successful that they can be. So we're making, so those teachers are the ones themselves ensuring that the AP program is staying consistent and staying as best as it can be. That's it.
Thank you, guys. Dr. Farr and I have had a couple conversations, and Mrs. Markham and I have had a couple conversations about, just because we talk occasionally. How do we get more kids to take advantage of our AP program? So I don't know, I'm a cute sophomore, and I'm pretty smart, I think. Who encourages me to give that AP physics class, who a try? I mean, walk me through that, or walk us through that, illustrate that.
I think that can come from a number of different places. We, when we go through course selection, sometimes the school counselor might suggest it. Some of our AP teachers will go to again, lower level, if you will, class, and sort of talk up the opportunities available to students taking AP. So it might come from the actual AP teacher encouraging students. It might come from those lower level teachers, or pre-AP, classes, those teachers encouraging kids to, try it. A lot of it's going to be word of mouth. Students, it's the nature of how it is if students find success in an AP course, word gets out that kids can be successful in this AP course. Other kids are going to sign up for that, and that's usually how kids sort of get into it. The opportunities afforded with AP, a number of our AP classes are dual enrollment, so kids might take that avenue where they want to take an AP course because it offers them both AP credit and the potential for dual enrollment at, say, SNU or NHCI.
Well, when Dr. Farr and I are both in the sciences, primarily, I want to see that science number. Not that I don't like humanities, I do. But I'd like to see those science AP opportunities pumped up. And that goes back to my thinking that at elementary school, we need to have science.
I would love that, Mrs. Sherman.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, I mean, of course, I didn't mention this through strategic planning, but that is, one of our focus areas is how do we build the capacity of our elementary teachers to be science teachers. We brought in some NGSX, the Next Gen Science Standards training for our teachers in grades 3 through 5. Again, it's more of a systems look.
Those are frightening standards. Sorry, I'm going to interject. Those are frightening for a third grade elementary school teacher to see those Next Gen X standards.
Yeah.
They put me over the top, and
Sure. And we've done a lot of curriculum work to sort of break some of those standards apart, but our science curriculum is built on, those standards and, helping our teachers to better understand the curriculum standards and to really, jazz kids up about science, starting at a very young level. I think, sort of that too answers that question of how do we get more kids involved with the STEM-related courses, AP level courses. It does start at a very young age, and so when you do look at our strategic plan, that is our focus area is how do we start very in the elementary schools and really build up to ensure that students have not only the interest but they have the skill set and they have a strong foundation to be successful in these courses.
I'd have special science days, of course, every day, but
sure,
every place. Dr. Farr.
Just a couple of things to point out here on your slides. Your AP subject exam, where you broke out humanities and STEM, adds up to 259 exams, but your slide prior to that adds up to 266. So I'm not sure why there's a difference there.
Might have just been in error in my part in adding those together. I apologize for that.
Okay, no problem. I just was trying to figure out if there's some. And then you mentioned that there's an increase, that Timberlane's showing an increase. And before I finish my question, let me say, I give an enormous amount of credit to the AP teachers here and these scores, because you're running such a short time that you can offer these courses before those May exams, whereas a lot of the southern schools have almost a month. So, and I know these teachers are coming in because my daughter took a lot of courses on their April vacation and working with these kids. So I really appreciate it, and I'm really in favor of AP courses. That being said, though, when I look at 5 years, there's not a trend per, I mean, clearly the last 2 years, they've been out of sight, up over 75, but
Yeah.
you can't make a trend out of 2 points, so I just wanted to note that. And the other thing is, and I meant to say this last time, it would be my last thing I say, again, as Mrs. Sherman says, I'm incredibly concerned about the number of students in these AP courses, because when these colleges are looking at Timberlane's school report card here, and they see that we're offering 15 AP courses, and a kid is coming out of here taking 1 or 2 AP courses, it looks like they're not taking a rigorous academic program, and they're not going to get into some of these schools that are looking for students to take a rigorous program. So it's better to offer, in my mind, and I can tell you from admissions colleges, that it's better to offer less courses with more students in it than offer so many courses with students not taking it for the students' benefits. So it's a big concern for me. And again, you know, it looks to me, because I'm looking at the master class list from last year and this year, that your number of students in your AP classes is down quite a bit this year, is it not? What are your total numbers this year in AP classes?
Yeah, and I don't have that number off the top of my
It looked to me
head,
like
but
it's off.
I think we heard you, and we have a similar interest in exploring the reasons why we may not have as many students, and really sort of diving in with our AP teachers to say, how can we make those, increase those numbers? And so that's not something that we feel that we can do alone, right? As administrators, we need to have our AP teachers, and, Mark was mentioning too, it's not even just our AP teachers, but it's about talking with our CCP level teachers and our ACC level teachers to say, how do we ensure that students have the prerequisites and understand the rigor and the expectations of an AP level course. And so this is work that I feel like we need to do as a professional learning community at the high school, with the support of district level and school board support. So know that we've heard you, and it's definitely something that we're having conversations about, and we look forward to an action plan that will help us to get to that point.
Okay, and I just saw one little thing. The engineering, I'm concerned these engineering courses, and I'm an engineer myself, so I'm concerned that these engineering courses are drawing off some of the kids that may be taking those AP STEM courses, and that's a huge concern. I can tell you what, colleges want to see math and science over engineering courses if these kids are going to these programs. So I would ask that you look at whether or not that's part of the issue with the AP science and math courses.
Lee.
Thank you.
So, Kim, you were talking about the trends, and slide 5 actually tells a good story that it's kind of hidden. You have to look for it. If you go back to it and you look at column 3, that table, number of AP exams taken, 266. Number of AP exams, 3 or better, 192. That gives you an average, or percentage of 72%. When you go back all the way down to 2014, 39%.
Which wasn't that long ago when you think about it, right?
Really? I mean, so we've gone from 39% of 3 or better on our exams to 72% out of all exams. That's a great story.
No, it is.
And again, kudos to our AP educators, our deans that support that program as well, and the hardworking students and families, because they are rigorous, and they are it's a great program, and one that we, like all of our programs, want to ensure that we continue to support and improve.
We got room for a couple more comments, Jen.
My comments, it's very similar to what Kim was saying, but when I looked at the number from that master schedule, it looked like 215 students enrolled in AP classes this year, which looks to be down a considerable amount from what we had last year. And
This is last year, this is spring of 2018, so you're,
looking at the master list that we have this year,
yeah.
it's 215, and I think you're pretty well versed in the AP. I'm not as well. I was just going to ask for a little bit of explanation about how that affects our students when you have that wide offering of AP classes, but you're not funneling that many kids through them. And what are we gonna, what's the balance? What do you do? Do you get rid of the AP classes, or do you push more kids to take them?
I think you
Well,
push more
there's
kids to
certainly,
take.
we want to encourage more students to, to participate in AP level courses. But, you don't want to do that at the expense of, their success, right? And so we want to make sure that both go hand in hand, that students feel that they're prepared, they have the prerequisites to be successful in an AP level course. And so I think both are true. We certainly
Just
want to raise our
concerned when I look
numbers,
at
but
those
also ensure
numbers,
student success.
the number of students is going backwards.
On this particular year, you're saying between 2017, 2018?
No, our current
2019.
current number of students in AP classes is down by about
215
50.
this year, I believe.
That number in front of me?
Yeah, I don't have that number in front of me. I mean, they fluctuate year to year. I mean, you also have to look at kids basically, for AP classes, with certain classes, they almost have 3 years to take different classes. So, kids aren't going to be taking all of their APs in just 1 year. Kids might take, an AP Social Studies class as a sophomore, an AP Science class as a junior, and then an AP Math class as a senior. Like, they still are taking 3 classes or 3 APs over their course of their year. Of course, we want to encourage as many kids as possible. There's a lot of factors of why, kids might not, they might be wanting to take this AP course and this AP course, and the computer, just the way that the computer schedules it, they might have to make a decision at that point, and they can only take one or the other. So there's a lot of factors of why it might be going down, but we do encourage as many of our students to take those classes as possible. I mean, clearly, we have to look at trends over time, and 1 year going down, it might go back up in 2020. We don't know.
Okay, thank you very much for the information. Stay tuned for next assessment report.
Thank you, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your support.
Keep up the good work. We're ready for a budget update. If that's the order you want to do things in, or do you want to jump down to anything? No, I don't see.
You're doing fine.
Oh, I don't see anything.
He was there, here, he's right there. A lot of books.
Got a schedule there.
Wow, we're right on time.
I'm gonna stick to the schedule.
Good plan.
You're close.
I'm gonna get you home.
You're close.
Mr. Dowd, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Madam Chairman. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Well, I'm a little sick, but I'll carry on.
That's why I'm sitting over here.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sitting close to Brian.
Yeah, I like you here, trying to give you some germs.
Right.
I'm okay right here, just for
It's good Timberlane healthy water. Good.
So, by way of update, I think there are a couple things on the agenda. And for this evening, I think one of them is for the budget, and the budget update. The Budget Committee did vote, and they did adopt the budget to push forward to the public hearing. And the budget is $71,733,700. So I don't know if Mr. Boyle, he's also the Budget Committee Chairman. I don't know if there's any comments or concerns on that? 71,733,700.
Anything you want to say about, we don't usually do, but go ahead if you want. It has to do with budget, so.
I
Want to talk
believe
about
Jeff,
that evening?
yeah, basically that, as you said, I was at that meeting, Jeff, and I believe the Budget Committee went through a long deliberation, and I think came off approximately 200,000, is my recollection.
That's correct, yeah.
And trying to get closer to the school board recommendation type thing. And the overall, obviously, people would like to see the budget as high as they could, but the reality here is we're trying to put something together here for the voters to support. So that's,
So they've voted, right?
the Budget
They've
Committee
done.
voted.
Yep,
Yes,
they voted.
and they
That's
moved
the
it,
number.
as Jeff said, to recommend to a number for a public hearing.
That's right. Yep, so that's been moved forward. I believe that you probably have a copy, or should have a copy of the budget in your package, which is on the legal size paper. If you have any questions on that, I'm happy to entertain them.
Corrections for what?
Sorry?
What
You
the
said questions.
Oh,
Questions, sorry,
questions. So we don't
questions.
have any corrections.
Corrections.
I just said corrections. Go ahead, Kim.
So, at our last meeting, we had recommended to the Budget Committee that they come down approximately 500,000 to kind of meet us closer to where the default number stands. Right now, what I see is the difference between those two budgets is $803,596. So the school board does need to have a proposed budget. So we either need to decide that we're going to go with the Budget Committee's proposed budget or come up with our own proposed budget. Does our proposed budget need to be posted for the public hearing, or has that already been posted?
Budget committee.
Well, I personally suggest we recommend the budget committees.
I think so too.
I think so too.
I think we should, because they came
do
down,
the
like I
work.
said, 200, and then we went through another 65,000,
60, SAU.
between 66.
Well, but the SAU delta will not be factored in because I don't
Yes, it
think,
is.
because it hasn't gotten
Sure
to
it
the
is.
public hearing yet.
Sure,
It's part of,
it'll be part of,
the budget committee carried the original number in the SAU budget, waiting for the the SAU board, to revised recommended budget. So the budget committee's number, I think, is going to come down at a public hearing.
That's
correct, yeah.
Well, the default budget is also going to come down by that amount.
Why?
why?
Because when the SAU budget changes, it's going to change the number in the default budget for the SAU number. They're both coming down.
They'll both come down equally.
We
They're
don't have
gonna
a
come down the
default
same
budget for
amount.
SAU, though.
I didn't think
What?
we had a
We
default
don't have a default
line
budget for the SAU.
No, but the SAU budget is embedded in the default budget for the district. There's no separate default budget for the SAU. So right now, if you look at
That's what you're saying.
our budget, it's already in there. So when that comes down for the SAU, it will come down in the default and the proposed budget. Both budgets will come down.
Well, it can, but you're looking at 65,000. I'm not sure we want to.
Not even that much.
I'm not sure we want to
Timberlane
revisit.
portion of 60,000.
Oh, no, well, no.
Well, it's, I think
that-
it's less than 77%. Is it still 77%
What did he
for
give
next
us
year,
the
or is
other
it
night?
76?
76 something.
76% for next year, so
So
it's
it'd be 76
76%.
of 60,000,
Correct.
right? So it's not
Yes.
a big much. It's just-
It's not much, but it needs to be corrected in the default budget.
Especially since we know about it, we're talking about
Yes,
it.
yeah, no, we can't just leave it. The default budget has to be
So
adjusted.
that would happen at the hearing.
That
right.
will happen after the hearing.
Yeah, I mean,
After the SAU hearing. Until the SAU approves it, we can't adjust that number.
right.
So just for everyone, to which you would reference, the percentage which of the allocation which Timberlane picks up of the total SAU budget last year was 76.45, and going into 1920 will be 76.17.
76.17.
So the assessment to Timberlane relative to the other district, Timberlane is down,
Yeah.
which is good news. I think that you should probably also have a copy of the default budget, and Kim, thank you very much for annotating that budget. It's system report, it's generated from system report. Once I entered all the information into our database, so it's the report that probably looks like this. I don't know if you have it on legal paper or regular paper. You have it on
Legal.
Okay.
I think we have an illegal.
So you can see that there have been some comments that have been made. The report's a little bit choppy when it's printed. If you come to agreement, you're okay with the comments, you're okay with the setup of the report, and it's really a little bit easier to read for our public.
I think.
See in the far right corner, that's where Kim included the rationale.
And I guess my question to you, Jeff, would be, is that rationale sufficient for the MSDS for those lines?
I don't know. I don't know, they're not changing the form. They don't give you a whole lot of room on those lines. You know, they're not changing the form, but they wanted more detail, so, you know, I think
So
there's-
what if we didn't put it, let's cut to the chase here. I think the answer is yes. But, so what if you put something, and they say, well, you didn't give enough detail? Then they send it back and we give them more detail.
Right. I don't know that that would change necessarily. I know that there's a requirement to have, this available for inspection, but that's not on the DS. That's not the form.
Right.
So I'm not, who knows what they're gonna do, but they didn't do a whole heck of a lot to give me a lot more room to include detail in the MSDS, I will note.
They didn't change that form at all. We learned that when we went to New Hampshire school boards for talking about default. They didn't change, they're not changing their form.
No, which is fine, it's okay, but if they need more detail, I need more
Well,
space.
I guess they come back to us and say, we need more detail on line such and such and such than what you wrote. I thought what Kim did was pretty good, pretty sufficient.
It's orderly, it follows the line. So,
Any questions? So we got that hearing thing and a couple of numbers that may get adjusted before the warrant actually goes to press. But we're moving closer to that point.
So again, the board needs to approve a school board proposed budget, because that should be posted with the other budget committee's proposed budget. I'm fine with it being the same as their, but we should be approving it.
We should approve the number that the budget committee gave us as our number. We should adopt it as our number, adopt, I think is the
Right, because there's 2 columns on what needs to go out, correct?
So,
That's on the, right, that's on the, for the deliberative session.
For
yes.
deliberative, yes.
So we don't need to do that tonight? Do we need to do that tonight?
I guess we can wait till after the public hearing.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Let's wait then, so.
Huh?
if it's a change, you wouldn't have to do it again.
Let's take the.
Right.
Right, let's wait till the hearing and, see what, because we meet that
January
night.
17th then, or even after the hearing itself.
Yeah, usually what we do is right after the meeting.
Yeah, we usually meet and
Right after.
consider and what people said and what.
Well,
Well,
right.
you were just thinking what I was
That one
thinking.
doesn't work that way. So the SAU boards, the SAU public hearing is on the 14th.
Right.
The public hearing on the Timberlane one is on the 10th. So
Right.
really, you could, at your January 17th meeting is when you'd make those adjustments, I
We
think.
could do it on the 17th.
Because on the 10th, after the public hearing, what you'll be doing is making recommendations on the warrants, on the articles themselves, recommending or not. And you can postpone the recommendation of the budget one if you want till after the 17th and do it after you've finalized it.
So it gets everything in, and then one last vote instead of it saying, then changing it again and then,
Yeah.
that makes sense?
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll put that in your minutes there.
Yep. Put it on the January 17th
Wow.
agenda.
Anything, you will put it on anything else for Jeff?
I have a suggestion here, and Jeff is here too as well. Dr. Metzler had asked that we consider a warrant article associated with the default, and I think it's around the conversations you have been having, is a warrant article to ask the voters for permission for the board to be able to move money from the operating budget to the capital in the event that a default budget is adopted without additional tax burden.
So we've discussed this a couple of times. We think we already can do that.
It's state law.
We think it already is in place. There's some controversy about whether or not we need to ask permission.
At our last meeting, didn't we ask the superintendent?
And he did, and they did, and
Yeah, well, it's one of these. Talk to DRA had said
to
that if,
DOE.
and I didn't have the conversation, this is just kind of third party from my perspective, but the conversation kind of went with, well, we've never had this happen before, you need to talk to DOE, the Department of Ed. So they talk to the Department of Ed, and the Department of Ed says, oh, no, you need to talk to DRA. So I don't know if you have any more information on that.
Well, I will just put it out there that procedurally, the DRA would have all of the filings relating to what was voted, appropriated, what surplus was, and all that. The apportionment is done by DOE.
apportionment's done by DOE.
The apportionment to
Each
the amount
town.
going to each town is done by DOE. So when you hear a little bit about,
They
finger
do this to
pointing,
each other, yeah.
that's the relationship. And typically, it would be DRA that would be doing apportionment.
Well, let's talk about the upside of the suggestion and then the downside. Any upsides to putting this in the warrant? Kim?
Sorry, I don't see any upside to putting that in the warrant.
Okay, so any upsides before Kim gets to do? You see any upside putting this in?
I have concerns about putting that in.
Downside then, Kim?
No means no.
Means no.
Well,
No means no.
I have concerns about that too. Then what? Then we're really stuck. But, Brian?
wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but wasn't that whole Hampton case, once the default budget passes, that becomes your operating budget?
Operating.
So
Well-
this board has that ability to move money around before they send back.
We think we
Yes.
can, right?
That's why I thought that was the whole
Well, that was
Hampton
the,
case.
the crux of the Hampton case, was that well, you've read that case, correct? So, we had this discussion last spring after the default passed.
did.
We had the discussion, okay?
We were trying to move
Discussion.
money out of capital at that time.
We were trying to do it the opposite way.
Yeah.
We're trying to do the opposite way. We didn't do it, but I don't, and this was the question that needs to be posted. I thought the question that we were posing to DRA, which I don't understand why they would send it over to DOE, was, can we move that money and send up the MS 25 showing that? Well, I don't know at that point, because DOE doesn't get involved till DRA has the number, correct? How can DOE get involved
They
until DRA?
can't do the proportionate until,
The apportionment.
DRA, so I'm not sure why, the question should be a pretty simple question to DRA. Can we move money anywhere in our budget once that budget is approved as the operating budget? And I think the Hampton case lays out that you can.
Pretty much what it said.
Yeah, the only issue I think we ran into last year, the appropriations is voted or reported on the MS-22, and whatever's voted goes in. So whatever's on the default budget that we presented or on the MSDS, more accurately gets pushed forward to the MS-22. That's quote-unquote the voted number, and this is what we ran into last year. That's the voted number, and that's what gets logged with the DRA. The DRA says, yeah, you're entitled to your Sullivan v. Hampton allocation, your reallocation. You can move the money however you want. You did it this year, and that typically is in the form of whatever makes the budget work, under the presumption that the default just is not meant to be operating budget because it needs change. But what they said was that it was a reallocation basically. So you need a basis upon which to start. And the 22 is the basis upon which to start. And they say that's the basis that they use. Whatever's voted, that's where you start. And then you can do your reallocation based on the fact that you have a starting point. You know what that number is certain. Now, the 22 can be amended or revised, and that's the question that I have. If we have to report what's voted by what we include in the MSDS, can that 22 be revised at a later point to reflect what this board has done for its reallocation? Because it's the 22, the MS-22 form, that the DOE uses as part of their apportionment to the towns.
When does the MS 22 due?
It's voted appropriations.
No, when does it due?
after the.
I think it's 20 days after the.
20 days after the vote?
After the vote. And then on that form, you get included any warrant articles that you have, they all get consolidated into one.
And then when's the DOE form due? Same thing, 20 days?
We don't report to the DOE.
Oh, you don't report.
So that, to me, that means we have a 20-day window to
Right.
move money before the MS 22 is done. That's it.
That's what I think,
As
too.
long as the MS 22 goes up the way that we need it to go up, and we don't have to reallocate the whole budget. We've got to reallocate into that capital line within that 20-day window. Right?
I'll submit it however you want, but I think it is a 20-day window from the vote.
Well, I think we need to be certain what that window is and make sure that if this default
Can you
budget passes.
just
we
find
do
that
it.
out for us, Jeff? Just find out, is it a 20-day window after the vote is finalized, or whatever they call it at the towns? Finalized, isn't it the word?
Ratified? Certified.
Ratified, adopted, decided,
Certified.
certified, certified. We'll go with Sean's word, certified. I mean, this is different than at each of our town levels, because we don't have the issue with how capital is apportioned at our town municipal level.
Exactly, which is why I think the DRA was like, we've never run into this
Right,
before.
right, we don't run into this. What? They have to have run, anyway.
It's your
not to-
articles
not
of
to-
agreement.
Not to slam good old DRA, but,
Well, and just to what Sue's point is, if Plastow were operating on a default budget, whatever was voted and whatever's on the DS goes on that MS-22. Well, it all gets apportioned the same. It's all the same tax rate, everything goes up.
Right,
There's
so
no,
it's
there's no
not a-
difference. So they don't care what you do. You know, reallocate Hampton v. Sullivan, but that's on your end. In our case, where that 22 is the basis for the apportionment between the capital and the operating,
Right.
you know, if that can be adjusted, then that would be the time to do it, because we have those articles of agreement that we want to adhere to, and those suggest that however the money is being appropriated, money appropriated for capital is used for capital, money appropriated for operating is used for operating. We want to be able to stick with that. The MS-22, I'm just looking at the form right now, the form due date is 20 days after the annual meeting. I mean, you know, certification of the,
so the annual meeting is the vote.
is the vote.
Vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the town meeting, it's the next one. Okay. Anything else for Jeff tonight? If not, I'm gonna excuse you unless you have something else to say, Jeff.
I don't.
Okay, good. Did
I
that come
think
out of
I
me?
will-
Did
I will just-
did I say that out loud?
Did you say that?
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you.
Madam
This
Chair.
board is okay.
Janet's got a question.
For something for Mr. Dowd?
Well, on this topic, though.
Okay,
what,
stay, Mr. Dowd.
But I don't, it's not something he's gonna answer. The first time this board usually meets after the annual meeting is when?
Organization, I thought it was maybe the
It's
27th?
the March 21st, so it's 9 days after.
Okay,
We got time.
so we have,
So I-
that was all, I was just wondering, yeah.
But you'd have to do it at that reorg meeting, probably.
Yeah, I've got it on the
That's
list.
the reorg meeting.
Yeah, reallocate MS-22.
We won't have to do because.
That's a
the
steep
proposal
learning
will
curve for your
pass.
new members, if there are going to be any.
Sheila, do you have a budget question? What's that?
This is just informational correspondence
Has this got to do with the budget?
for.
Well, Dr. Wilson will address that under the admin report, I
We're
believe.
not there yet.
Okay,
You're way down the pile.
okay, just asking.
Okay, we're at, good night, Nick.
Night, Nick.
Do well on your project.
Thanks, I'll try.
Okay, we are at school board goals review. Again, just informational, but we agreed that we would look at our goals and see where we're at so far. So if you look at the action plans,
Red?
they're in red.
It's in red. Are you missing one?
One page.
That's okay, I'll find it, keep going. I got it.
We're still, under academics, we're still working on the action plan there. Frequency and redundancy of standardized testing, we're looking for something by June. We did, the one under planning, we did receive a CIP report. Did that part of it. And review the implementation of the strategic plan. That's gotta go, through facilities. So I would think that's in the works, we haven't completed it. They're working on that long-term facilities, they've got the steering committee almost done, so the date is a little off. We talked about these dates being, we needed a target, but they weren't written on a tablet anyplace. So we're doing that. And the next one down, the facilities master plan, as Mr. Gary mentioned, they're working on that, and hopefully we can get closer to the April date or sooner. Under community and culture and community, we've got some TPAF stuff coming up. We've got one in January, right, Sarah? What's that one on?
Yep, that one is on vaping.
And that's what, the 29th?
The 29th, 27th, end of the month.
Yeah. Wellness fair, the wellness committee is working
29th.
on that.
Okay.
Maybe making that, using the YMCA facility, and then therefore we don't have to surround it around when school is over and trying to squish it in between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Maybe it could start earlier and end a little later, but they're working on that. So the Y has offered their property, which would be awesome, and a lot of their legwork. That would be great. Workshops in the community. I don't think we've done that yet. That goes back to the culture and community strategic plan with a written and formal presentation by the end of the year. And that's where we're at. I'm not disappointed with what we've done. I mean, I've kind of looked these over as we've gone along. I think we're moving along a little bit on these.
You can also see on number 2 on the back page, your research into some of the software systems we talked about tonight as a way to just, inform you if they can be used for citizen feedback.
Right. I think we've kind of touched base on our financial section, the default, the detail there, Still would like to know more about grant availability. We've gotten quite a bit of donations over the last, seems like one comes in every month. Somebody gives us a donation, which is very kind, so I think we're going all right. A little concerned about our state and local representatives. We
Yeah.
probably need to touch base with them.
I was gonna mention that. I'd really hope to get that now that the election's over, and people are getting sworn in, to extend an invitation to representatives this
We
spring.
could put that on a future agenda and see, to do it a little bit out, because you'd have to invite them and then they'll
Yes,
say they
absolutely,
come and
extend that invitation to
clear
them.
a spot on the agenda, so that could go down on the list. Anything else or comments anyone wants to make about this? I don't know if you've looked at it the way I have, but
I just want to thank the board for their support, as the Personnel Committee worked through the negotiation process. That was, it was my first time. It was a very positive experience, and I did appreciate the support that our committee received as we moved through that process.
thank you. Anything else on the goals? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at policies. We are at second read.
I'll make a motion to approve the policies as second read.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Want to withdraw that?
So I'd
I'll
like,
withdraw it.
I'd like Jen and Lee to speak towards a couple of these, and then we'll take a motion.
Policy KA is actually, the recommendation is to repeal.
That's number 5 on the list
Number
here.
5, yep.
To repeal,
Yep.
recommending repeal, yeah?
We would need a motion to repeal that policy.
I'll make that.
A second.
All in favor of the repeal on number 5, KA, school, community, and home relations?
Just lost one.
I know, we're losing, my glasses don't
They're
see.
fading
Oh, I'm
fast.
sorry, yes, I'm in favor.
Oh, voting?
6.
5, 6.
Brian and Kim? No?
6.
Abstain.
Abstain.
No, I just don't.
First room.
6, 0, 0, they just, anything else on this list?
Well, just a
Consider-
quick question while we're talking about repeal. We do, I'm just curious, the process for repealing policies. We do have some policies, optional policies, like mission statements that are included in policies. Is that something that this board can look to repeal, or?
I thought you were gonna, bring those and say, these are the ones we think should be repealed and removed.
You would like that to go through
because
policy
they're
committee?
Yes, absolutely.
And then,
We do keep those on record
Yeah.
in case
But
there's
they'd be out of
ever
the-
Yep.
a question about a
Did you-
policy that was in place,
Right.
5 years ago.
Right.
So we try to keep them on record even though they've been appealed. Repealed, rather, sorry.
and then policy GCO, that was a policy that the committee looked at before the TTA contract was ratified. So the policy committee wanted to just take a look at that and make sure that everything that was covered in there, I think the consensus seemed to be that some of the information relative to the TTA contract, if it needed to be included, maybe to look at a procedure, but the policy committee wanted to take a look at.
So let's move that one back.
I'll make a motion to move GCO back to policy committee.
I'll second it. All in favor of moving number 2, GCO, Teacher Performance Evaluation Systems, back to policy with the additional information that we received. So that's 8, 0, 0. Any of the others, you guys? No. Okay, then I'd hear a motion to accept these for adoption.
I'll make it.
So Lee makes this motion to accept number 1.
I'll second.
Number 3, number 4, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11. For second read and to adopt, final adoption. Who made the second, Jen?
I did.
Sarah.
Nope.
Oh, Sarah, sorry.
And Lee made the motion, yes.
Yep. Motion by Lee, second by Sarah. All in favor? 8, 0, 0. Thank you very much.
Could I
And
make
they work
one?
on policies.
Could I make one comment on the policy that's coming back around teacher evaluation performance system? If there's new language, and I don't know this, but if there's new language in the negotiated agreement that you've just had, my concern is if for some reason that contract does not pass, I don't want you to have a policy that conflicts
That was the
with.
same concern that, we had a discussion about that, and beyond just that, I said, our policies aren't gonna be reviewed every 3 years, where the contracts are done every 3 years, so wanting to make sure that the policy, and the policy that policy GCO, it's pretty brief as it is right now. So that's why I was saying, if there's anything, and I talked to the policy committee tonight, if there's anything specific to the contract that needs to be included, maybe the better way to go would be through a procedure that can be changed as.
But we don't write procedures. So.
Correct.
Right, and we may want to just hold that until the vote, first of all, just to find out if there is something that has to be changed in the policy, and then bring it through policy. I just don't want it to come through policy too fast, and then the vote may be something different.
Sorry, it's my understanding that the concern is with regard to existing CBA language, not.
Yeah, I don't want to put the president of TTA on the hot seat, but I think the concern is present
There's a seat other than the hot seat.
language.
Only hot.
I know, right?
All right.
Present,
Yeah, it's
we need to
existing
look at
language.
this, just, let's not do anything
I know.
hastily and.
Right, some of it, this is a policy, so if you're gonna bring it back to policy, then we'll act on it there.
Okay. Okay, moving on, thank you. We are at warrant articles, so we've got an update of language, et cetera.
So that's new from what was posted.
Yeah.
Because Mr. O'Shaughnessy was able to get us some language
Yeah.
at 3:30 or 2:30 today, so I updated it and posted it as soon as possible to give you a little bit of time to look at it.
Okay, so the one I have concerns about, if we could look at this one, it's page 2 of 3, is the order of things. So this one is charges for professional banking or brokerage assistant for reserve funds and trust funds. That talks about how we're gonna pay the firm for helping investment.
Yeah, yeah, that's what he provided.
This
and
is
he
the
actually put it
newest.
in that order. He actually said that.
Why?
I'm trying to recall what the email said. I'm sorry, did you like that look, like the blank look? I can't speak to that because I don't recall, other than the fact that I do believe he indicated that it would go in that order with that language. They couldn't go together, and that he puts in the non-contingent so
Right,
that in the
right.
event that one passes and the other one doesn't, you're all set. Because we had originally talked about incorporating that
Yeah.
language into the single one, the move and everything. And you said the cleanest way to do it would be this way.
Two separate ones. So if one fails, if the first one fails, and
It
the
doesn't
second one
prohibit you from
passes.
doing it, from whoever's doing it, to be able to employ a service to do that.
Right.
We didn't have that when Danville had it, right?
Sorry, can we go over that one more
No,
time?
no, Danville doesn't use a professional company to
So
manage.
if,
Plastow uses a professional firm. Sean, you did the research on this. Did you want to speak to this?
Thank you. No, I called, Mrs. Center and talked to her about it, and she explained sort of like, I know you've been iterating over the last several meetings. What Plastow does is they use a brokerage firm that uses the proceeds out of the, that they obtain via, the interest that they get on the trust fund, various trust funds. And there's a certain formula or a set fee schedule that they charge for that service. They are still also responsible and have to, address all the laws that are governing the trust and custodial aspects of these funds versus the current implementation, because this warrant article has never been adopted by the district. There are only set funds that you can invest in.
Right.
And you're basically limited to the previous one was the New Hampshire Deposit Investors Trust Fund, and which is called New Hampshire DIP. I know a lot of people have left that because, you could get better interest rates from your local bank than what you were getting from there. So I think they had a big exodus over the last several years. And I know that the town of Danville, their trustees of the trust funds have been investing these in CDs with different, rolling them over. And that's where I think is that whatever the outcome of either of these warrant articles, I think it's very important that the board, on a yearly basis, probably right after or is even part of the organizational meeting, because then you know what funds are coming in and what funds are going to be going potentially out of these trust funds, is that you give a direction or a guidance to the trustees of the trust funds so that they can, if they know that you're going to need these funds in 3 months, they would go for a 3-month CD, knowing that they're going to get less interest for that versus going a long-term, a 9-month or a 1-year CD and so forth. So that is, I think, a task that the board should adopt on a yearly basis. But with these were the two warrant articles that she had mentioned that we were going to need.
Right. I just was concerned about the order they were in.
I can verify, but I'm pretty sure it did say.
I just have a question on the wording on this, on the second one on this. So, it says, this article, this is about changing the trustees of the trust fund. This article is not contingent upon the passage of article, and that's referring to the
That's this one
previous
here, yeah. They haven't numbered the articles.
So if the article about charges for the professional banking, brokerage, whatever that Plastow uses, does not pass, in changing of the trust funds does pass, will Plastow still take on trustee of the trust funds? Because it says not contingent. I actually thought it would have been the other way, contingent.
I would believe that Plastow would have to, their trustee of the trust funds would have to keep it in the same
Would
sort
have
of
to
format.
use-
Wouldn't
right.
be able to go to this
It
external
wouldn't- right.
brokerage
They'd have
house
use
to
the
manage
same
it.
low interest, yep.
But that would all be,
Do they understand that?
I believe.
well, that's probably why we probably, at some point, I think, wanted them all in one warrant article would be ideal, but for whatever reasons that were discussed why they didn't want it to do it that way, that's what it is.
Well, because if this change of trustees fails, and the other one passes, Danville could now go out as the trustee of trust
Correct,
funds
that
and
is
find a
true.
professional manager. So you don't want them contingent on each other
Right.
at all.
And it remains in effect
Correct.
for 5 years, which is also helpful.
Was there a time limit on it?
Yeah, it says, I would just said,
I
vote
would
to
just wanna
rescind such authority shall
clarify.
not occur within 5 years of adoption of the article. So it's for 5 years that would be enacted.
Sure, I talk to her daily,
It's the
so
last
I'll
sentence in
speak to her
the
again.
first one. That's how I'm reading
We
it.
talk a lot.
Oh, so once you get into it, you can't get out of it for 5 years.
Right, stick with
See,
it.
and it's just the authorization here. It's authorizing them to do it. So it's not requiring you to, it's authoring them to do it.
Right. I think we're agreed we'd like to get as much interest as we can on any of our trust fund, capital reserve, monies as we can. And I know that probably Mrs. Center expressed this to Mr. O'Neill, that Plasto was becoming more and more concerned about they were making, for all the work it takes to do that kind of investment, and the trustees of the trust funds work really hard, I believe, they weren't getting much bang for their buck. So when they went to this investment firm, they saw a big interest turnaround. And so if this works, we'd be great. I know they can't invest in all the things. They'll have some they have to do separately. But the trustees in Plasto know that, because they've got trust funds similar to what the school has, I believe. Okay, I just wondered why they were in that order.
I have one point to make here on the first page. The number for the default budgets should be 7930,105.
Yep.
79:30, not 7:30?
Right down, right here.
Yeah, I got it.
That's
What's
proposed.
Because the initial number was what you have, and then there was a motion to increase that number by 200,000.
Thank you.
So what is it?
79:30,
Correct.
Okay. Thank
Or
you.
the default, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Kim. 79, yes. Oh, we corrected that last time.
And then those will change it again.
Well, at least for the purpose of this, he's right.
Anything else on the warrant?
What else did I get?
I voted against it.
Sheila has her.
I'm sorry, Sheila, yes.
Okay. I was kind of doing the wave, too, to see if I could get. Have we lost all hope on getting a number for the pack wall? I mean, we threw in 500,000.
Lost all hope, that's a good one.
We lost all hope.
Well,
Yes.
what, I know we threw in 500,000 to hold the marker.
Right.
But have we, Brian, have we gotten anything back on?
Yeah, so you got plenty of time. Well, you
Do
got
we?
the budget.
500 in there,
Well, yeah,
so-
because
Okay.
basically, this is a draft budget.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have anything, no.
Well, you have until, I think it's the Monday, the last Monday in January, to post your warrant as final.
Okay.
So, and after public hearing, if that number were to go up, you'd have to hold a supplemental public hearing, but if it goes down, then you wouldn't be
You don't
required
have
to.
to.
I thought we were gonna do up to 500.
What's this up to, yeah?
Yeah.
Raise and appropriate the sum of, up to.
You should say up to.
Raise and appropriate up to the sum.
I think you had taken it out last time, because I remember
Yeah,
I
I know
purposely
we
took it
had
out.
it in, we took
Because
it
you
out.
told me to take
And
it
you
out.
have this,
Do you remember what that was
We know
about?
of at least one petition article coming in too, so after tonight.
Well, it does say up to, if you go down into the,
Well, it does, that's for the,
Third.
taking it out of the capital reserve
Yeah.
fund though. So you had taken it out of you left it for the second one, but
Oh,
you
yeah,
took
and
it out of the
yes,
first one.
yes. We took it out of the first one and kept it in the second one.
But what we do is that before this goes to public hearing,
Yeah, look
we will have legal look at this.
Yeah,
Hopefully we'll have that
Okay.
number,
Okay.
the real number, and we'll have legal look at that to make sure.
Yeah, I just asked that, should we
Yeah.
have it in both places?
Yeah.
But also, shouldn't we have on that no tax impact? Parenthetically at the end. That's typically what you see on these warrants.
Right.
Do you have a,
New.
No additional, what was the wording?
that,
We talked about that last time.
funds not to be,
no additional,
not
No
a result of
additional
to be raised, no additional
taxation.
taxes to be raised?
Zero.
It's up here in the
taxation.
capital reserve fund. No amount to be raised by taxation, but we said additional taxation. Because that fund has already been raised by.
Previous years.
Right,
Right?
you did say that. No, I recall you said it.
We
I did
did.
do it.
So
Mhm.
no amount
Yeah.
to be raised by additional taxation, by additional taxation.
I think it's going to be very imperative that we have detailed plan in place before we have our, the public hearing,
I'm sorry, can you start again, Sean?
is that we have to have a comprehensive and detailed plan of what we're going to be accomplishing here. Because just asking for $500,000 to fix the pack, and when you start asking details, I mean, we're
Right.
asking details here, we don't have any answers.
So my thought would be that each of us take an article anyway, and put it on the floor, but that at the deliberative session.
I mean, definitely.
And a presentation be prepared and ready to present. Either the facilities director does that, or, because would be appropriate, or Brian. So that you
Check
would
with
put-
Tom, because I don't have any,
Right.
I don't
So
have any
put-
information.
You put the article on the floor, you ask the moderator, I'd like to speak to the article first. He makes his presentation. Either he does or Tom does. I'd like Mr. Gary to be able to make a presentation about what this is going to involve.
Shouldn't we get that first?
Isn't the
You want
public
everybody in
hearing-
this room to be aware of the materials that are gonna go on the wall? Or can
No,
we
I'm
trust
not
that
asking
Brian's?
about that, but I mean, I would hope that the presentation would include pictures, you wanna see.
Pictures, yes.
See
PowerPoints.
how sad this is, that our building is falling apart. So when you're
Want
asking them for
sad
$500,000, they can at least point to, yes, I can see where it's going to be fixed.
Yep, a presentation that
I don't need
shows
to
why
know
we need it.
the UPC code of the material that they're using, for
You
example.
don't want it, or you do want it?
I do not need that.
But maybe somebody in the audience does.
Well, then
So
they
he
can ask
should have
for it.
that stuff ready to go if he needs it. All right, so pictures, PowerPoints, the good, the bad, the ugly about that particular walls, ready to answer questions from the floor.
Limited to 5 minutes on the presentation, please. I mean, we don't need
We don't
a half an hour.
You don't
on-
control, the moderator controls,
What? Not the presentation, though. I mean,
moderator controls.
No, no.
Okay,
no,
fine.
Yeah, this is our warrant. That's what she's talking about, like our backup.
Right. We don't want,
We want this thing brief to the point, so,
yeah.
But let me ask you this, how does it work in Timberlane? Does usually one of board member speak to individual
As a chair,
warrants?
that's what I would like.
Okay, because we can get you the details, the talking points, I mean, that, to assist, if that's how you're gonna do it. In most districts, it's your warrant, right?
It's our
So-
warrant, so I think we should present it. I should think
That would
I
be
would-
great.
yeah,
If
like
you
I
can
would
get all the
Sarah
talking
presents
points
the-
for this warrant, that's what we need. We need the talking points.
Yes,
for this.
talking.
well, that's, quite frankly, the only one that really needs
We
it.
put the PowerPoint together anyway, so under the PowerPoint, we can put the talking points, and then you
talk to the
get a
talking points.
chance to kind of see it.
Yeah,
Okay, I guess
that's the key
I guess,
one.
Dr. Wilson, because you're not usually, but I don't, my concern is that we don't have the information that you're gonna need to put in the talking points, because you haven't gotten it in your
I've got
own
nothing.
facilities. So, that's,
What would you like to direct us to do? What are we directing to have happen? You want me
You
to
need some
speak to
kind of
Tom?
backup,
You
yeah.
want Brian and I to
Yeah.
speak to Tom?
Need
You
some
want
kind of backup.
Dr.
We don't-
Wilson to speak to
do
Tom?
we need this for, we don't need this for the public hearing. We
No,
need
the
it for
public hearing is just to
deliberate.
present
So,
it, and then deliberative session is when you'll sell it.
Right,
Right.
no question.
I think we need to have a direction that we get it for our next board
Next
meeting,
Right.
17th?
the 17th, and have a presentation so that we understand it.
He might want to ask.
Is that the last, that's the last
Okay,
meeting we have?
Yep.
That's not, I don't think it's really SLT, I think it's more facilities thing.
Yeah, no,
here,
no.
so.
I think we
Yes, I
direct
was
the
thinking about that.
superintendent to have a presentation to support the warrant.
Are you making that as a motion?
Yes, I am.
Right.
I'm making a motion to direct the superintendent to have a presentation that will support the warrant
January
presented to us on January 17th.
Regarding everything, or just the,
That,
Guy in the pack wall.
pack wall, sorry.
Just the
When I say
pack
the
wall.
warrant, I mean that warrant article.
Yeah, because I think trying to
That's
do
it.
it all.
No, that's the only one that I think
That's the one you have some
board can
concerns
speak
about.
to the
this is
rest
one
of
you
it.
need to
Right.
have the contract as well. Is
I
there a
was-
second on that?
Oh, a second.
Jen seconds Kim's motion.
And I just wanted to make a comment, because I think it is important to have a presentation with some pictures, because
when people drive by the PAC or walk into the PAC, it looks great. I don't think everybody realizes really what the concerns are. I know I didn't realize how bad the PAC wall was until I did that facilities tour. And I don't think most people are really up that close looking at the wall and seeing what's going on and understanding it, so.
I agree, I don't wanna, we don't need a 15-minute
No,
presentation.
no, no.
Okay, just
Oh,
a
no.
couple pictures and.
Yep.
5 to 8 minutes. All right, all in favor? So noted. How about the collective bargaining one? What are you gonna need there?
I'm working on a PowerPoint.
Okay.
I've touch base with Jeff and with Nancy, with Kathy, sorry. I'm using a previous PowerPoint as just like the shell,
Right,
you know, and build off
because
of
we've
it.
had a couple of those.
Yeah,
I believe it, yep.
It's like 6 or 7 slides. It's
Public
pretty,
hearing.
yeah.
There'll be some questions related to Sean's point about more of the detail of the language changes. So I would prepare
Okay.
yourself there too.
I'll be very surprised at that.
The language changes about what?
Language of the contract.
Yeah.
See, we have, with the voters approve the cost items.
Yeah.
The board approves the language. And that seems to be the issue. The contract is between the school board and the TTA. The money is all of us.
Yeah.
So
I'm
we
working
can
on
prepare
that. Yep. And I hope to have
Please
it.
touch base with Kim and Brian if you need
absolutely.
help with that.
Nancy
Definitely.
Lewisell can also.
And Nancy, of course, I think
Yeah.
she is.
Is Nancy still here?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so let's hold this on the 17th, and then I'd say, I'd like
PowerPoint
each
for
of us to
the-
kind of take one and say, I'll put that one on the floor, I'll second it, I'll speak to it, and then what I want to do is give a list to the moderator and say, here, it's our warrant, here's who's going to speak to it, not just willy-nilly it through the meeting, I like it organized, so who I know is going to speak. So if you got one you want to speak to, more than another one, or you don't care, or you don't need to speak, but certainly Brian on the wall and Sarah on the contract. Okay, 17th, put
And
that,
typically, you don't speak to petition warrant articles.
no, with
the petitioner.
Yes, we won't do that, or those.
Right.
Okay, so on the 17th, Kathy, you're set to go for that. Anything else? If not, I'm gonna move on. Administrators report, Dr. Wilson.
A couple of things. One, I guess some of you may have heard that when kids returned, there were no bathroom doors in some of the high school bathrooms that were removed. And again, over Christmas break, they were removed, I think, a miscommunication. They were not authorized to remove them. Dr. Metzler, when he found out about it on the next day, asked him to put the doors back on. And there are the doors that are the entry doors into the bathroom, but you can't see any past because of.
They're not the stalls.
No, they're not the
The
stalls.
door into the physical facility, and the doors
Right.
have been put back on.
And at no time was there any site issues or problems. But I think that there was at least some conversation at some point in one of the committees, and some people thought that it was their directive to take them off. So they're back on.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that was something that I've got notified by several.
Yes, and we did as well. So we took care of that as soon as we found that out. The gym floor at the middle school, in the board packets, it's an updated executive summary on the middle school gym with some pictures and complete with some photos. And if there are, additional things that you require or you need, certainly we can, bring that to another board meeting, but wanted you at least to see what some of the issues were on the floor. And then the third thing is the DOE audit findings, and I think you are all aware, the DOE conducted an audit of the business office practices and cited 2 areas requiring corrective action. Those items were addressed, and I believe there were procedures, were addressed promptly to the DOE, and the DOE does consider both findings resolved. The determination and follow-up email are included in the board packets.
So at the back is, came in, I guess early this morning, I didn't see it until later this afternoon, knew it was gonna be in our packet. Mr. Carney saying, we're all set. You resolved those procedures to our understanding.
Yep, and I know the procedures, that he worked on them. He did bring them to SLT. We looked at them as well, gave feedback, and it was, resolved from that point of view.
Dr. Farrar, question?
Dr. Wilson, you mentioned that that the board was aware of this DOE audit. Until I saw this right now, and I was not aware that the DOE was auditing us. Was anybody else on this board aware that there was a DOE audit?
I got a letter, a thing from Mr. Carney, including a letter, but it was about Merrimack High School, Merrimack, instead of Timberland.
So you weren't aware that this was, there
If
was
I
an
got
ongoing
it,
DOE audit?
it was just recently, it was the last couple of days.
Well, this has clearly been going on since before September, because there's reference to September 18th in this email.
Okay.
And my understanding is that, is it per policy or that the board, anytime there's an external investigation by an outside agency, should be informed? Is that correct? I
didn't
don't
get
have the
anything in
policy with me,
September
but
on it.
I will definitely find it. So
On the second page, yes.
I know, I didn't get any email in September about this.
So I guess back to Dr. Wilson, why did you think the board was informed of this?
That was my error, because I thought it had to do with the audits that have been going on.
No,
So that was just purely my error. I didn't realize that you weren't aware of this one. I thought this was connected to the audits that were taking place. The
Oh.
regular audits that take
Mr.
place.
Dowd, come up. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were still here.
So
So that could be
well, I
me.
guess it is.
Should've left while you could.
Well, no, you know what, I'm glad that I'm here.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing the way that reads, because it references a single audit.
Yes, it does.
Right, so one would think that that's an audit, and that is in reference to the audit report from our external auditors. Because we're such a large recipient of federal funds, they conduct what they call a single audit as part of their overall audit. And so y'all approve the audit report, it gets sent off to DOE, they noted the findings and came back and said, how can you give us some resolution to them, which I did. So it wasn't an audit that DOE conducted, it was the result of a single audit which our financial auditors undertake. So a little confusing, so Dr. Wilson was correct, there was no audit to speak of.
Jen?
Wait a minute.
No DOE audits.
Now I'm confused.
So,
Can I clarify just, please?
go ahead.
So what I'm hearing you say is, this is a DOE response to the auditors, our private auditors' findings.
Correct.
Based on their filing with the state.
Correct.
It wasn't an audit by the DOE.
No, but it refers to a single audit because that's what that audit is called, that our financial auditors do, because we're such a large recipient of federal funds.
Jen, question?
I made her lose
I
it.
don't
I
think so.
apologize.
No, I'm looking at the dates on it, so
This is,
the audit the most recent audit that we got was 2016-17. The
The one
audit
we
that's
got
being
in June?
conducted right now is
not this one.
17-18.
It's not, yeah, it's not this, it's not the one we're currently doing.
Right. So this is the last complete one that we
Or the
just.
one before that. Is it?
No.
That was the last one, because if you look at the two findings they reference in there,
Yeah,
it was
it's
the
the-
findings from the most recent audit report
Right,
we
right.
received.
And in those findings, you'll see my response, the same that was in
Correct.
the audit report, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I was reading through, I'm like, oh, this is just,
Looks familiar, right?
yeah.
So we were not audited by another. Is just follow-up that they do?
So I would like to direct the superintendent to have a presentation or
Executive summary?
an executive summary to the board on, what's the next meeting?
January 17th.
The one
Is
after
that our
January?
last meeting? Oh,
No, February 21st.
no, that's our, on, an executive summary presented to our board on February 21st to ensure.
February 21st?
February 21st, ensuring that these have been corrected, because the date right here says now March 1st.
No, but then it includes an email that it's all set now.
Yeah.
Well,
That you've got it all done.
well,
It
it's all
has been.
set, but
So it's been addressed.
Thank you for thank you promptly, da. We're all set.
it said the written procedures shall be submitted to the New Hampshire DOE as evidence of the completion of the corrective action no later than March 1st.
Are you asking for the written procedures?
They have been.
They did.
They
did.
were,
That's
and
what they
this
did.
guy saying,
Yeah.
I got
Okay,
them, we're
so-
all set.
I don't know why you'd say that by March 1st then, if they're all set.
Because this
The
came
back page.
Because we did it,
before this.
This came before this.
This was sent to you with a date of, I need this stuff by March 1st, right? On
I think what
December
you-
24th,
I'd like to.
Christmas week.
Today there was an email. You addressed it.
I see the response, but I don't see the email.
The email's in the back.
No. What she's saying is,
Okay, so I guess I'll rescind my directive then.
I would actually like to make a motion that the board is I'd like to see those procedures.
Right,
that's
so
fine.
what's the motion you'd like to make, Mr.?
To
We'll
direct the
include them.
superintendent to forward to the board the
Forward.
written procedures that were submitted to the New Hampshire DOE relative
Forward to our board,
yeah.
the procedures that were submitted to DOE in this regard, right?
written
Relative to
procedures.
The written procedures.
Yep, the written procedures. We'd like to see the written procedures.
No problem.
Do you have a date you want those by?
As soon as possible.
Wow.
Reasonably
Do
possible.
it at a board meeting. Your next one.
I mean,
How
they've
about-
already sent on up there.
How about January 17th?
Perfect. I'll compromise.
Write that down.
Sean's compromise.
Kim's right, Sean's compromising. Go, Lee.
You
Little
have a-
levity, just a little comic relief.
You have a motion on the table.
Oh, yeah, I'm waiting here. Do we get a second for that?
Yeah, somebody said, I'll second it. I thought somebody did, but that's okay, I'll
May I?
second it.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Discussion, Mr. Doobie?
So, having the procedure, what's it gonna change? You know, we can't dictate to the business office what procedure they use. The DOE's telling, hey, you got it, we looked at it,
Yeah,
looks
we're all
good.
set, thanks very much.
We're good.
We're sorry we sent
I'll
you the
look at it.
Merrimack letter.
I mean, is it
instead
really
of
hard to
Timberland
take
letter.
the email that was sent up there and forward it to this board? I mean, it's literally 8 seconds of work.
Did you, stop, did you send it by email, Mr. Dowd, or did you send it in a written snail mail?
Wouldn't be there if I sent it by mail.
Yes, correct.
We'll give you
It's
the procedures.
electronic form.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
good, let's vote then. All in favor of getting the written procedures forwarded to us by January 17th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 3. Okay, no abstentions. Okay, thank you very much for that. Anything else, Mrs. Dr. Wilson?
I have a question.
Oh, is there anything else? I
I have a
kind of
question on
lost my
this matter.
page.
Still on this topic, okay?
I think I'm all set.
Jeff,
Jeff, come back to
could you
the,
please come up to the table?
For the record, I do enjoy driving poor Dean crazy by standing over here and not near a microphone.
That's good. I know you probably
you
just
need to
walked,
speak directly into the microphone as it is. We've had some complaints about not being able to hear you.
I don't speak loudly enough. You put two of them over here, so I never know which one to speak
Slower.
into.
Jeff in stereo.
Clearer.
Yes, stereo.
okay, so this overall letter here from DOE calls itself a management decision letter. So, what is this? So basically, they just pulled out they randomly just pulled out Timberlane and went after and looked at this?
Oh, no, when the audit reports are approved, DOE received a copy of those audits, and the
Right.
state does as well. And they go through and they said, hey, you have some findings here, and from your financial auditors, and we're picking up on them, and we're going to ask for what your response is, and give indication as to what they run up the flagpole at the DOE. So they've had it for a little while, and simply asked for resolution. They say, hey, what you've proposed as a response is fine. Just commemorate them and send us the written procedures for them.
So DOE, then someone at DOE, must be this individual,
Carney,
Tim Carney.
goes through different school districts and reviews their reports and looks for whether it's any kind of findings or...
Well, don't forget that the districts like us who receive larger amounts of funding, federal funding, get special treatment in a way. So we have that single audit as well, which focuses on federal funds.
Okay.
So they've been doing a lot more, and Tim is actually a very good resource. They've been doing a lot more compliance at DOE, which I think is good. And so this is probably something that they should be doing, or should have been doing for a while. And
This is required under the federal compliance,
Okay.
receiving the funds.
Okay.
And you can see the date of the letter, it was Christmas Eve. I wasn't working Christmas Eve, but they were evidently. Lee?
Brian, to your point, the other thing that I think probably would flag it generally with the audits, based on the severity of the finding. So if you look at the way they rated them, material weakness, significant deficiency, that'll throw up a red flag based on the severity of what they see, and they'll pull it out of the
That
stack.
wasn't about federal funding.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks.
Jen?
Just a general comment about procedures overall. I don't know where we're at, I know we talked about it before. Somehow getting procedures more available on the SharePoint site so that they're there. We've had a lot of procedures come through policy committee too, and I think some are there, some aren't there, and then when this came up regarding that, I don't know where we're at with any kind of movement toward getting procedures.
So I can speak to some of that. I think I probably have like 4 or maybe 5 procedures that aren't posted yet. We're waiting for the board to finalize the language for the policies, so that you weren't having procedures that might reference something in the policies up yet.
That's
But I
not
think
there.
I might have 5 in the queue now
Okay, so
that
they've
I'm
all
just
been
holding,
put
waiting
back
for
up?
it right. And so after tonight, I think I've got a few that I'll be able to post because of that.
Okay.
It's just to keep things less confusing, because there are sometimes there's significant language changes.
Okay. Sorry, one more thing, the middle school gym floor, sorry, go back to that. There's a recommendation here. And I'm just wondering if that recommendation, if that's something that would go through CIP in a budget at some point, or what we're doing with that recommendation.
Depends how much money it is. If it's 10,000 or more, it needs to go to CIP, right?
That's right. The request has to go to CIP.
So I'd like to make a motion then that we maybe get an estimate on what that repair cost might look like.
Okay, so Jen's motioning to get an estimate on what the repair would look like.
I'll second that.
Please
The middle
second.
school gym floor, right?
Biggest thing for me, it says, I don't believe these damages qualify for an insurance claim. That's too bad. Expensive floor.
Okay.
All in favor? 800. Anything else on that, or can Dr.
That's it.
Wilson move on?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. to personnel, please.
Personnel report. We have one notification of retirement. Timberline Regional Middle School Science Teacher, Mr. Kerouac, 17 years with the district. So he is notifying you of his retirement at the end of the school year. And then we have one nomination.
Yeah, I'll put that into motion with regrets and best wishes for Mr. Kerouac at the middle school. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second for Mrs. Lowe's. All in favor?
That was Sean, I thought, yeah.
Are you in favor?
Sorry.
Boy, I could have sworn.
It was over on that side of the room. It's okay.
I mean, I know we
I said,
didn't.
boy, my voice is
I know,
really
yeah.
deep tonight.
It's like Jen, Sarah,
All
Sarah,
right.
Jen.
800 to accept Mr. Kerouac's retirement. Nomination.
We have a nomination for an opening that we had for TLC at Sandown Central. It's a 50% preschool teacher, Amanda Hackney. And she has done some long-term subbing for us in the same capacity, as well as worked at Atkinson Academy.
Your motion to nominate? Mrs. Silva. A second, Mrs. Markham.
Can I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
On, when we get these nomination sheets, number of candidates, is that number of candidates applied or number of candidates interviewed?
Good question.
I believe it's interviewed.
It's interviewed.
Can we add to that the number of applicants that we're getting?
Applicants, number of applicants, number of,
We can, but number of applicants may be
They're not
350.
qualified?
They're not, that we go through kind of a process of determining.
Yeah.
This happened to be, she was in the position. We needed someone certified. We weren't getting certified applicants, and Amanda did a nice job for us.
No, I'm just wondering, like, how, to try and get a feel for how attractive, or, how much
Yeah.
we're attracting.
We typically have a lot more candidates that are interviewed. It's the timing of the year, and it's also, we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose her. And her long-term subbing was coming
Yeah,
through.
no, my
Yeah.
question or comment isn't at all
Okay.
about the candidate themselves, it's just about,
yeah, we had discussed that, Jen, just to give you some history, way back, about that. And, it would be a position that you get a slew of candidates for, you get 300 applicants.
that'd be great, I'd love to see that, everybody wants to come here.
But it's not necessarily that all those applicants were even qualified for the position. They just put their application in, and they may not have the certifications we want. So maybe you want applicants considered?
No, but it's
Well,
a
that's
good
really
barometer,
interview.
though, of how attractive is the district, and how abundant is the candidate pool.
You never put in a
Certain area.
resume for a job you didn't really want, or you're just out there fishing.
Yeah, but you're not. If you have 100 applicants, you're not. 90% of those aren't just fishing. A percentage of them are.
Yeah.
But it just gives you an idea. Whereas if I have 5 applicants, maybe we're not as attractive, or maybe it's the particular role that we're looking to fill.
So, would we consider adding something that shows maybe qualified applicants, or?
Or at least the completed ones, because there's a lot of people that start them and don't even
And
finish
so
them.
it's not
But they're not-
anyone we'd
yeah.
consider.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't want income.
Just to
You
give
just
us
to
a
look, and it's
barometer.
harder
Let's
to
use
look
Lee's
because
word,
they're not all.
barometer of it.
They report both
It's kind of
numbers, and you know
interesting.
what numbers they are.
Yeah, interesting to know how many.
I think I'd like it to be qualified.
I think of qualified candidates.
Yeah, some of you
Yeah.
you'd really consider for
Make
the
a
position.
determination of the ones you see that are qualified. We usually kind of narrow that down to a pool of what we're looking for. In that pool, typically 5 to 6 candidates, typically is
Yeah,
what you
this-
see.
This is odder.
This is unusual.
because Okay, did we vote to accept her? Yep.
No,
we
but I would
voted.
love it
All
if you
right.
did.
All right, all those in favor? 800, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sue, I have a question in
Yes.
regards to the retirements. Aren't those due to this board by the 1st? All of them?
Papers have to be in by the 1st.
Papers have to be in by the 1st.
Is it January or February?
No, it's
January.
January
We've been
1st?
We just went through
Teachers,
this.
I think so.
in the last
For
meeting.
teachers, notifications are typically,
Yeah, January.
the other
1st.
district is February, which is why
Yep.
I wasn't quite sure.
It's February, it's January 1st, but
Right.
sometimes these will work, there were
So if we,
exceptional circumstances sometimes.
There are
where
times
we've
we get
accepted them,
exceptional.
Yeah,
but that's up to the board. But, so typically, any that have come through are the ones that put their notification in.
So this is the date, really?
Yeah.
It's a date that they put in.
Correct.
Yeah.
But so this is the only one that we've received then for the January 1st due date?
That's it.
I think we've got a couple others earlier.
Yeah, there was a couple.
Well, we had one we approved last meeting,
Yeah, we have a few,
and this one.
but there could be a few more, that, the date will say January 1st, they haven't.
Okay.
It happens.
Any that we've received, you've
gotten,
seen.
Yeah,
Yep.
none that we haven't
Right.
seen.
Okay.
So if people come after this, there usually is some kind of an extenuating circumstance, and the board has to take
And
that.
they usually include that in their letter to us. Okay, going forward then, committee reports of the school board, anything? I've included that as one line now, so anything anyone needs to talk about? Policy committee went okay? Tonight?
Great,
Nice
we,
to have you back, Lee.
Yeah, we went
Good
over,
job.
6 policies? Moved 4 to first read, kicked 1 back to SLT, and 1 made it to the back burner list for next meeting.
Excellent. Brian, have you got facilities coming up? Or
January, yeah, next couple of weeks.
next couple weeks?
Next week,
Curriculum?
curriculum and assessment next week.
Wellness has had a trouble having a full meeting, but we have people working in what I call little subcommittees to get that wellness fair up and going, so it hasn't been a full-blown wellness committee meeting. Sheila, anything, reports or committees?
I don't think we ever talked about this STEAM night.
I don't
Yeah, you
think
did.
you did.
I don't think any one of
did.
us.
We did.
Did we?
You did?
Great
Yeah,
night.
good.
I just
Jen
want to
and
say how
Sean, I
phenomenal
thought.
it was.
What?
I want to
Great
thank
night.
all,
Let's do it some more, right?
no, anybody who was in there, any of the parent volunteers, I just want to thank them all.
Good night.
It was great.
It was great.
Sean, anything?
Nope.
Kim, anything, reports? Okay, if not, then the correspondence folder is empty, we've gotten things. Vendor and payroll register should be going around, it's red.
It's all done.
Any other business that we haven't discussed?
Got this other business that, about that, the parent hearing,
Presentation.
presentation.
You
I
want to do
believe,
that in public, or?
well, the date, can be fine in public, yeah.
Okay, the date.
I'm just trying to get this thing done, now that we're
So you-
into January, so basically the board,
Throw
I
out a
believe
date.
the,
I'm
I'm sorry?
sorry, Kim.
Let's put out a date. Let's do it right now.
So, this, you voted to
Have a meeting,
have that presentation,
yeah,
and you need to find a date.
January 17th.
right.
Well.
Do you
how
want
would
me to
do
get
it?
the
School
date?
board meeting, and then you got policy before that.
Do you want me to work with Kathy to get the date? Do you want Brian and I to work with the date?
Well, we've already,
Dates go out.
we've already
That's what I thought.
answered.
All right, so can you read that to me? Because I don't see that, because I'm not
We've already answered these, and,
pick a date.
we have, well, you can have Tuesday the 15th.
15th of January?
Yeah. You can have,
15th of January.
that's a date.
Well, we need a quorum, right?
Well, we have 6 yeses here.
We're gonna have, I say it's the 17th, we're gonna have a quorum, it's a scheduled meeting date.
The 17th?
Yeah.
No,
Seven-
not on the
You can't do
17th.
that, you can't do that
That is,
same-
that is,
that night, yeah.
no, not on a school board night.
Yeah, can't do that.
That's a normal school board night.
I'd go with what Sheila just said. If you get 6 people for the 15th, let's set up the
got
15th,
Why can't we
Five
do
or
it on a regular school board night?
because you don't have the time.
I'm going with the 15th.
No, that thing could take a half an hour. That thing could take 2 hours, 3 hours. You're not
Time,
gonna
7 o'clock.
get
on-
lawyers involved. Well, no,
7 PM on January 15th.
Yep, done.
7 p.m.
It behooves you to, Brian will run that meeting?
We gotta get this done. We
So-
just gotta
It
get it
was one
done.
of the nights on your list that the room was available at 7.
Yes, there were 6
So
people
let's get that
available.
notification out
Yep.
and move on. Anything other business before we go into non-public? I'm non-public.
I do.
Kim does, and then Sheila does.
I just want to explain this big pack that we got here. I think this is a misunderstanding. At the last meeting, there was a discussion about the salary line detail, which we seem to have had for 3 meetings in a row now.
Yes.
And about whether or not we had made it clear as to what we were looking for. So back in September, which I forwarded to Sue, I forwarded the email that showed what we were given at the meeting, which is the thin one, and what I was looking for, which is the thick one. So these were the 2 documents that were in that email. I think I asked for, so I didn't want these printed off, but I want, for the record, and I want the minutes to reflect this, that I sent an email to the chair, to the superintendent, and the business administrator, specifically indicating what we were looking for in the salary line detail.
And I'd like the minutes to reflect that I forwarded it numerous times.
And it's still,
I've given up.
yeah, me too.
Anyway, if the minutes could reflect it,
I will make sure
Mrs.
the
Dr.
minutes are-
Farrar described.
Got it.
Sheila, something?
Jen, you had your hand up. About this?
Or other business?
Well, no, she
No, I
wants
just wanted to, some clarification, what I'm looking at here. This says fiscal year 2018-19 on the front sheet.
This is the salary line detail that the school board was given last year, which was what I've been looking for months this year, that we never received. We did receive the salary line detail, but we received
Was
last
last
year's again.
Well, this is this year's.
No,
Nope.
this is last year's. We have not to date seen this
Well, that's what I
year's.
was gonna say, as I flip through, it changes, so on page, I don't even know what page,
It goes to fiscal year 16, 17.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And on the front it says, yeah, I'm with you.
On the front, it says 18,
So
19.
I'm just not sure what I'm looking at
But
here.
you're looking at the salary line detail for 16-17.
We want the salaries of 18, 19.
And have we still not gotten that?
No. As I said,
Or a PDF.
I mean, I feel
You
like
don't
I've
need
gotten
it.
this
You
a
don't
few
need
times
PDF.
already,
We don't need
but
it.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, but, and this was kind of printed out by mistake. This was the same thing.
Okay.
We've gotten,
The dates on these, they're printed out from anywhere from 7/24, they go back to 10/26/17.
Add it on all together.
Okay.
Sheila, something other business.
Yes. Yes. Do we have the bullying prevention update coming up at the next meeting, correct?
17th,
Okay, great.
unless Mrs. Rasko's not available.
Okay. When do we see Mr. Colby again? Do we know? Because he said he was coming back, correct?
Few months.
February.
2 months, it wasn't going to be next week, but,
No, I'm just asking for my own personal reference, so,
oh, no.
Those months.
No, I don't think you gave a date. I think he said that you would come back in February.
Yeah, February-ish.
okay, so we don't have a meeting on the 7th, really, so can we see
You
if
don't
we
have
can
a
get?
meeting on the 7th?
so there's
We
not
have a
much.
deliberative session.
Well, it's a deliberative,
Right.
so
You'd like to have him come back?
I'd like to have him come
February
back on the 21st. Sure.
Let's extend an invitation. That doesn't
Please.
mean he can, but
No, I know, but I'm,
In order to help him prepare,
What
what
is
is
he-
it that you're asking of him?
what would you be wanting to ask him? Update? How's it going since we saw you last?
yeah.
Okay.
The audit should be done by now. It's
Right, and we
January
just want to
1st,
see how
the
he's,
3rd.
you know, because he was still making progress, really, when he came to us, right? He was still in process.
Let's see what he's got to say.
And
You want him
just-
physically here, or you want an executive summary?
No, I'd like him physically here, please, if at all possible. I found him a very charming man and a very nice man. I did. I thought he was very nice.
Do you want the minutes to show that?
No, I just thought he was a very nice man.
So noted.
Is that terrible?
Well,
The other thing that I'd like to ask about, and I keep seeing it in back burner list, is, once again, the service contract inventory in process. How far of the process are we in?
must be someplace in the process.
Okay, so how about this? I'd like to make a motion to give the directive to the superintendent to have the service inventory contract inventory to us by January 17th. In the agenda packets would be wonderful.
Know where that is and the person who's in charge of that, and that's a very short amount of time.
Well, you know what? We've been asking for this since this October 3rd,
Okay,
October 4th.
All right.
Well, if
You're
you want
asking
people
for the
to set up for
17th?
I'm giving a
failure.
directive for the 17th.
No, you need to make that in a motion. Did you?
I did.
In a second.
I'll second it.
Thank
Second
you.
for Mr. O'Neill. All in favor?
January 17th?
January 17th.
6.
Yeah, yeah.
Opposed? 2.
Okay. Believe it or not, I've only got one more thing. And the last thing is a special education trend report that we've been asking for also.
That was gonna be the same night as the bullying presentation, because it's done by the same people, so I felt it should all come at the same time, just be easier.
Okay, because this says audit update. So I'm assuming that this was from when Mrs. Rincon was here and the audit was being done.
Yeah, it's a CIM.
That's
The
different than the
compliance.
SPED trend report, which
That's
we've been
different.
waiting for from NASDAQ since March.
So make that motion, Kim.
I'm going to make a motion that we receive the SPED trend report from NASDAQ at the January 17th meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Sheila's seconding.
That
Any
you received the
discussion?
report that hasn't been submitted to NASDAQ?
We were
You can't
supposed-
compel NASDAQ to complete the work in time for your meeting. I'm just asking
No,
it
no,
to be reasonable.
well, I'm just wondering, well, let's,
That's
I'm
all.
assuming that the
Yeah.
data has been sent to NASDAQ. That's what I'm making my motion based on.
I don't think that is accurate.
Then I want that SPED trend report on the agenda for the 17th, and I want to know, and that's not part of the motion, I want to know why the data has not been submitted.
So,
So
want the
my
trend
motion is
report?
that we have the SPED trend report on the agenda for the 17th.
and who seconded that, Sheila? Are you still seconding that?
Trend report.
I am.
Any other
Update.
discussion?
Yep.
I will go back and,
Clarify it. What exactly again are you looking for?
NASDAQ has certain reports that they generate, like the one that shows the projections of the enrollment out for the next however many years. Last year, or the beginning of this year, no, last year, March, April timeframe, the board made a motion to get to request that the administration give the data to NASDAQ so they can generate a SPED trend report. As you know, SPED is going like this. It would be nice to see what the trend looks like for the district. So we've been waiting for this since April. That's what this is about. It's another NASDAQ generated report. There are about 10 questions through your budget, about 7 go to the special services people, and then they generate a report. It's not a difficult, thing to do, I don't think. Well,
Are you
NASDAQ
asking
can't
for the
generate it.
report at the next meeting?
I would love the report, but if they haven't sent the data to NASDAQ, we won't get the report.
So, yeah, and that's what I'm asking for clarification on. So your motion, is it to get the report, or is it to have the data submitted by then?
She said an update.
I want an update. and
Okay.
The
I guess my-
update could be, we just submitted the information,
Got it.
it's been submitted, we haven't heard from NASDAQ.
Yeah.
It could be a one-sentence report, update.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Just for follow-up for me, was there a motion made to
Yes.
actually submit the data for the report?
Yes, there
Or was
was.
it just someone's preference?
No, it was a motion and it passed. And
Okay,
I
do
can
you
find the
know-
minutes if you
Do
need
you know,
it.
yeah, I know.
I would think it was in the March, February, March timeframe.
I'm sorry?
February, March.
Okay.
It was when Brian was chair, so I think it was last February, so we're going on 9 or 10 months now.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, all in favor of the motion? 6. Opposed? 2.
We don't want any elections.
No abstentions. Okay, any other business? I have some
No.
non-publics.
Can I just, Sue, I asked you about this, just real quick, somebody asked me about junior ROTC,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was going,
and if our students could enroll in the one in Salem.
yeah, go ahead, bring that up.
Okay, so,
That's too bad that Woody's leaving.
Yeah, maybe he knows about it. So.
Do it till next year anyway.
Maybe you want to put it on.
You couldn't do it till next
Yeah,
year
maybe
anyway.
we should put it on the agenda.
that's not the kind of thing
people
you
are
should drop.
prepared.
Let him make it, let him prepare.
That'd be in the fall.
I don't
So
know if it's
just
easy.
express
Anyway,
your,
so
and then we'll-
here's the, Salem has a junior ROTC program, and a parent questioned me as to why our students from Timberlane couldn't go into their program, because Salem's willing to let our students go into their program. So I just wanted to know if there's some way that,
Right, if in fact that can happen,
or if it's true, I mean,
Good
But we can
opportunity.
get the information for you.
that's fine. I
Let's
mean,
get
you
the
can even just,
information.
it can be written, I just wanted to get the answer to that.
Yeah.
And then there's one other thing that, seeing a foreign language person over there, I would like at some meeting here soon, to understand what's going on with the FLES program and how that's impacting both the middle and high school language programs.
Planning.
Because where are we in the
It-
elementary
it-
school? Up to fourth grade?
Direct it here. Thank you.
Sorry. So, I would like that added on the agenda, but
Does it have to be on the 17th?
no, I want to be
We're gonna be
reasonable,
late.
but it needs to be, should be added on soon.
Can we put that,
Yeah.
like, in February someplace here? And that gives them some time to prepare and make a presentation about the impacts that our elementary program has on middle school choices, curriculum, going forward, where are we in it? I think we've got one more year before everybody's gonna get caught up. And then, because we've
There-
talked about it at curriculum, Kim, but not,
Yeah.
not
There-
for the whole board. So let's have a whole board.
You want it on the
Yes.
back burner, or do you have a date that you're talking about, Sue?
February-ish,
They're already working on it, I know.
yeah,
They're already meeting and talking about it.
talking about the next steps.
Okay, I mean,
Okay, we'll put that on. Anything else before we go into non-public? I have a non-public that I'd like to discuss with you under 91A3, paragraph 2L, consideration of legal advice provided. I think that's as close as I can get to it, that one. That's my motion. Maybe a second?
A second.
Second from Sarah. Full board.
Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Mr. Doobie?
Yes.
Dr. Farah?
yes.
Ms. Lowe's?
Yes.
Mrs. Malcolmer?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
And Mrs. Silva?
Yes.
Time in is 9:46.